Mhm. All right. Let's see if I can get this up and going. So it's not a history lesson, Emily. That's not what I was trying to say. Um, if I backed up on this map, you would be you'd be very confused, which I'm going to do. We're going to go over this whole map, but I wanted to give people a second to see that I'm live, and so I did that little intro thing in the beginning. Yeah, I was zooming in on this map of I guess what we would call North America, the United States, and Miami is in the middle of Illinois, and there's a bunch of other really weird things about this map. So that's the plan today. We're gonna go over this map. The artwork was done by a gentleman by the name of what's it? Uh, Oa Ohawhewhe or Ohawhewhe. He's an artist from deviant.com. If you haven't heard of deviant.com, you can you can check out a bunch of artwork there of any kind. Um, Let me back this up a little bit. Let me see if see what everybody thinks of the actual map that I'm referring to. All right. So if I go to this, we start zooming out, it'll give you a better perspective. So this tiny little map that I got on here isn't what we're looking at. It's part of what we're looking at. But this is the Beyond the Ice Wall map, 1830 AD. Like I said, it was done by Ohawhewhe, um, Dishwasher Possum, Indigo. A couple other people have credit on the top if you can see them. Boredom Bear. But the actual map that we're looking at here is, see if we can get a good visual of it. The Flight of the Eagle. Okay. In the center, right here, is what we would consider the planet that we live on, basically. Um, that's supposed to be North America, South America, Europe, and then the white on the outside is supposed to be Antarctica and or the ice wall. Okay? Following me so far? All right. So this is what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to talk about the ice wall, the 4 entrances that they have on this ice wall, the beings that live outside of the ice wall, some of the beings that live inside of the ice wall. Can you get a water? I didn't see your hand up. Wonkaroo. No, you don't have to take notes. Yeah, you can look back at this video for reference later. No need for notes. But I'm gonna get ready and go over some of this stuff. I'll go to the beginning, which is it all starts with the black moon, and it's gonna be a lot of me reading tonight. If you guys don't want to pay attention, if you guys don't want to tune in, if this isn't your cup of tea, I totally understand. But this stuff really does intrigue me. I like alternative history. I like alternative timelines. And this is something that people have actually been talking about. There's books about this. This is the only artist I've ever seen that did a full like lore and everything out, everything else about it. That's the Serpent's Gate. I'm not trying to get to that yet. We're going up here, and we're going to talk about the year of the black moon, beyond the gates. Oops. And kind of give you some lore behind how this map was created and the beings that happen to be on it, because it'll be too hard to figure out piece by piece. And we can literally go over everything that happened in Portugal, Russia, what we consider, the planet that we're on today. So and how it got to this point of just being a whole different world, I guess. But yeah, that's where we're gonna start tonight. And yeah, grab a cup of water. This should be fun. Can you prove there's an ice wall? No, this isn't. This is an artist's depiction and his lore behind it. I can't prove there's an ice wall, man. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I wish I could prove there's an ice wall. I've never been to Antarctica. I can't prove that there's not one. If it makes you feel any better. But I'm talking about this like it's alternative history or an alternative timeline, and that's kind of how I'm going to go through it with everybody. But I'm getting a drink ready. Thanks, Balls Deep, for stopping in, and yeah, then I'll start going over stuff. But I appreciate everybody that stopped in so far. I'm going to give a couple more people a chance to wander in. Anybody in Illinois? I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, it's if I get cut off at any point, it's probably because of the big storm coming through the area. You're not supposed to tell the teachers you're going to skip class. You're just supposed to do it. Huge. It's gonna be huge. But yeah, this is what I'm going over tonight. It's gonna be a lot of reading. So hopefully you guys are locked in. Grab a drink, grab a snack. It should be fun. Ooh, April's late. Yep. Tardiness will not be accepted here, April. The only reason April's usually allowed to come late is because she likes to stack the chairs after class. So you can prove that the Earth is flat. How can you do that? I'm interested. I'll hear your take on it before I jump into this, if you got time. What is it? Multi tom tom? How can you prove that? And don't try to give me that English Channel BS where they measured over a mile, because that can't be repeated. You're not the principal. What a coincidence. You're the principal and I have no principles. Weird how that works. Water tells you that the Earth is flat. Gonna have to elaborate more than that. This is where you tell me gravity is a theory and it hasn't been proven. All right. I'm going to give Multi-Tom a chance to answer this, and then we'll jump into it. In long distance observations. I've been in a plane. I don't think you're high enough to see the curvature of the Earth. And then, I've seen the video where the Red Bull guy jumped out of a craft and came down to the usually it has came down to the Earth. Usually it has to do with the lens that they're using. I understand that most NASA pictures of the Earth are composites. I understand that, just because we don't have anything that will take a full picture of the Earth. I have looked into flat Earth. I just can't hook, line, sinker fall into that one. I go on really long walks. Not once have I fallen off, so I'm going with it's flat. Okay, we do need security. They gave us the dimensions of the globe. Yep, and you can measure it. It's so the the globe isn't perfectly spherical. I think it's more of a, I don't know, if you had to justify the shape of it, I think it would be pear shaped. Uh, but yeah, it's not a perfect circle. You can use their math to debunk it. We don't have any testable areas on the planet that I know of that you can measure over the mile and whatever that they were talking about without looking past a certain point. The only thing that does confuse me is when you like see a ship go over the horizon, um, and then you add like a telescope or binoculars, and then all of a sudden it's almost acting like uh, the binoculars are seeing around the curvature of the Earth. Yeah, that one does confuse me a little bit, and they try to say it's optical illusion. I've heard of people talking about how they see the skyline of Chicago over Lake Michigan or past Lake Michigan. They say the radius of the globe is 3959 miles. I don't know what that is. Who's they? Scientists? Because that's isn't that about how far flat earthers think the sun and the moon are swinging like a pendulum above the Earth? It's like 3,000 miles or something like that. 35,000 miles. Like I said, I really have looked into this a lot. I just this isn't this isn't relevant to flat Earth, but it does touch on some of the things that flat earthers talk about. Like I said, this is an alternative history or alternative timeline one. I've even sprained ankles. So what does that say? Oh, using the I can't even say it. I know exactly what word it is. The Pythagorean theorem. Um, a 1 foot observer should see the geometric horizon at 1.2 miles. What time is class over? I don't know. This might be more than one class. It might be a two-parter. I mean, I would have to see it demonstrated. I don't. I've never seen it demonstrated. Besides, the one demonstration that they have is from the English Nile or the English Isle or whatever, and it can't be replicated. They've tried to replicate it again, but that's the one that most flat earthers kind of fall on when it comes to measuring distance. They actually used stakes and they tried to measure how much of the stake they could no longer see to measure the curvature of the Earth, and that's something that these flat earthers did, and they reference this all the time. But it can't be replicated. That's the only thing. If you could show me a replicatable, example where they proved this, that would be a little more believable to me. But that also doesn't mean that the rest of the planet isn't spherical. Like I said, I think it's more oblong. I don't think it's perfectly spherical. By the way, space fans, outer space is fake as fuck. That's something I always get into with people. Do they think it's a projection, or do they think those are other flat discs out there? Or yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting um, takes that flat earthers have on what's above their heads. And multi-time, I mean, even you're being hypothetical in the fact that you're imagining that we live on a planet. Um, what if we're actually inside a simulation? There's a better odds that we're in a simulation and not on a planet at all, and the plane of existence that we're on is all a construct. So that would make both of our arguments irrelevant if that was the case. I mean, I heard an interesting theory today about God being a virus. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of theories about that when it comes to if we're even living in a simulation, if we should even be paying attention to if the Earth's round or some of the science that we see, if it's even applicable. All right, let's get into this. We're going to get into the black moon. All right. I appreciate your input, though, multi-time. Lights in the sky are called luminaries. Makes sense. So, do you think the sun and the moon are hanging like a pendulum and spinning around, like a plate surface? Is that what you think goes on? Do you think the world looks like the United Nations flat map or whatever that they use? I think that it's the UN's map. I can't remember which one. But yeah, no, like I said, I've dug into the topic a lot, but I don't know. It's one of those things that I could never totally fall for it. We're in the Matrix. It's obvious. Welcome in, Canadian. Nice to see you. All right. I have this last cigarette, and I'm good to go. The year of the black moon. And we'll go to Dreams of Atlas, and we'll back it up and go over some of the different specs on the map, the different entrances to or through the ice wall. All right. It's been 380 years since the renowned explorer Ferdinand Magellan had been sent by the Spanish crown to attempt the first circumnavigation of the globe when the Trinidad was blown off course. That was the name of the boat, sending it on a journey that would fundamentally reshape how the southernmost reaches of the world, drifting towards a desolate, frozen landscape covered by glaciers resembling a vast wall of ice encircling the known world. On its surface, the ice wall seemed to stand as an inconquerable barrier that forbid mankind from going any further. Yet, as they approached, Magellan and his crew felt an inexplicable compulsion to keep going, even when ominous colors began to churn in the sky, when the frozen seas began to froth and boil, and the moon lost its light. Their urge to press on only intensified. Ooh. So, this is where they're going to tie a little bit of our history into this. So, the black moon is a thing. You can go look up what a black moon is. I think it only occurred like every 19 years or something like that. It's got some weird thing that it falls on, but it's supposed to be like the first or second blood moon in a cycle at the end of a month. I can't remember when I heard about that. I'd heard about it a while ago, but so they're pressing on. Magellan's on his way. He's gonna keep pushing through, even though they got thrown off course. This compulsion grew into madness as the sailors were gripped by the great and terrible visions their minds were not equipped to comprehend, and the mighty glaciers began to crumble before them. Somehow, whoa, don't do that, Jake. Oh, crap. The sailors were gripped with a terrible vision that their minds were not equipped to comprehend, and the mighty glaciers began to crumble before them somehow, and a fracture of the crew survived for an unknown period of time, for which they were unwilling to recall, unconscious, or I'm assuming it's unconscious, or unwilling to recall. The seas in their minds had calmed, and they found that a large portion of the glacier barrier had opened and revealed mossy coastal landscapes, bookending a vast stretch of open ocean, continue on past the southward horizon. What once was a wall, I'm assuming that's a typo. What one was a wall was now a gate, and the sailors would return to Iberia with the sense that their unprecedented globe-spanning voyage was just the first step of a much greater journey. With Magellan nowhere to be found, Juan Sebastian Elcano led the remaining ships back to the Old World, finding unrest and upheaval everywhere they went. South of the equator, they found coastal villages ravaged by tsunamis and storms. The destitute people stricken with apocalyptic terror, with many perceiving the black moon as an omen of the end of days. As they moved north, they found less destruction, but just as much unrest. The moon had remained pitch black ever since the ice wall had opened, a nightly reminder to the people of every land that something about their world had changed. The explorers kept what they witnessed a closely guarded secret, only telling the tale once. They had a direct audience with the King of Spain, each man recalling what they had saw while approaching the ice wall differently. Each of their visions were unique, mostly incoherent and contradictory, but there was a single common element every man could describe in pristine detail: a tall, ethereal woman whose skin was dark as the carnivorous abyss, but at the same time glowing with some otherworldly energy, standing at the top of the glacier wall, staring down at them with closed eyes. Without speaking, she called out to them, beckoning them to come closer, to join her at the top of the wall and peer over the other side to see what lay beyond. All right, so the woman that they're describing, I believe the artist did do a rendering of her, and this is supposed to be his rendering of the woman that was on the top of the ice wall. Yeah, I don't know. That would creep me out. So this is when the gates first opened up. NASA lied. What? Ooh, I'm gonna catch up the chat a little bit. I'm jumping out. Um, the world isn't flat. Netflix adaptation Moon. Yeah, fallen plant. Prove the ball Earth. Then I don't have to prove the ball Earth. Um, I don't think it's. I think it would be. I think it would be a waste of time to fake it. Why? What incentive would there be to push a ball Earth? Because I even like, trust me, man, when I say I've looked into every aspect of this, even when you're talking about like plane routes, like when they talk about the rerouting of planes so that it could travel across a flat Earth rather than going distances around a sphere that would be faster and more gas efficient. Like I totally have looked into this. I know where you're coming from, but don't be mad at me if I don't believe you all the way. It's okay. You can look into it. I think it's a fun topic to talk about. But I can't say I wholeheartedly believe it, and I don't know why they would perpetuate a lie like that. I don't know why. I don't see the purpose behind it. Um, or a 500-foot tower. Your emoji is round. What do you think? It's flat. Just climb the skyscraper if you don't believe me. How is climbing a skyscraper going to do that? All space agencies are lying. You can only see 2.8% of the Earth from the International Space Station, which is allegedly 250 miles high. NASA lies. Do the math. 250%. 24,901 miles. God damn. Don't make fun of each other. He's just got his own opinion. Like I said, we're talking about pretty out there topics. You might find people that don't agree with you. Nothing wrong with that. I have a really good eyesight. I bet I can see more than 2.8%. Enough with trying to play smart like that. Have a seat. No, yeah, don't belittle people for their views. He can have whatever view he wants on it. What's going on, Woody? Nice to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Just going over this this artist depiction of I guess it's an alternative timeline or an alternative universe. We just went over the construction of it, or well, the openings of the ice wall is what we just went over. And then I think next we're going to go to a little bit more of the lore, just to kind of explain the map that we're looking at. Dreams of Atlas. Yes. That'll be our next. Because Beyond the Gates is where I want to get us to, and then we're not going to have to do too much with after Beyond the Gates to start going into the map and explaining some of the entrances and going over them. And like I said, the artist that did this wrote all of this lore as well. These aren't like he uses modern terms and stuff like that, but he pretty much constructed this whole thing. So make sure to give that artist credit. I have his name in the description, and you can find his stuff at deviant.com, I believe, is the site. But yeah, this will be the next one we'll get into. If the Earth is flat and stationary, how do tornadoes and hurricanes work? That's a good question. I wouldn't know either. Yeah. And if you have a problem Canadian with, what he's saying, disprove it or something, Is this the Bristol expedition? No, it's like I said, it's just a construct of this one gentleman. I have his name shared in the description. He constructed this whole map, and I think he's taken pieces from that and some of the old world maps. I think he's dabbling in other stuff, but the composite is his work. So yeah, that's the guy I'm looking at today. But I do know exactly what you're talking about with the Bristol expedition, where they went and met the other race of beings after going through the ice wall, and they were in some kind of a conflict when they got there. And yeah, no, I do know about the Bristol expedition, but it also doesn't touch on Admiral Byrd, and it doesn't there's a lot of. Yeah, I think the Pierre Reese maps I think it's spelled different, but I know what you're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I find this very intriguing. I mean, because we were joking about it before. They're like, "Oh gosh, we're looking at maps and it's a history lesson." I'm like, "No, not really." I was like, "It's just one story." Bought 2 heavy armed Navy ships as well. Dude, they brought all the goddamn ships. Like, especially when even when Admiral Byrd went to Antarctica, that was some sketchy shit. Project High Jump, with all the equipment that they left there with, and then came back with all these people that they had lost, all these ships they had lost, planes they had lost. It's crazy to think that we got to take such heavy machinery, especially in that case, because it was it wasn't supposed to be a conflict. It was just supposed to be a naval exercise. And it's nice when you have credible people like at the time, Admiral Byrd would be considered a credible person, being an admiral in the Navy, I believe. Terry, but what if you're looking at a map that shows Antarctica without ice? Then it's got to be more historical, right? Because we've never seen a map like that in our lifetime. So just the sheer age of it would make it historical, I think. But I do know what you're saying with geography and cartography. Like, mapping itself is its own thing. Actually, I'll pull you guys out for a second and let you check out something else. So this is something I always thought was interesting about this map. If you go into our area inside of the wall, um, they got cryptids in here as well. Like they got the Loch Ness monster down here, fitting pretty. Who gave Nessie a motherfucking Newport? The Enfield Terror still at large. What's the ones they have in the U.S. In Russia? They had, I thought, the Bigfoot. Hey, look, it's Bigfoot. Wonder where he's going. And then, oh no, this one's Russia or Siberia, getting chased by this Mongolian death worm over here. And then, what was the other one? There was a couple of them. The being that they found in Africa, or it says off the coast, I think. Looks like a little foot with spikes on him. The Ohawhewhe I, now commonly found in the Congo rainforest. The legends of this long-necked, water-loving reptilian beast dwelling deep in the African jungle was widely known of by sailors who ported in the area. So when a Portuguese crew returning from the second globe found a few juveniles of this creature had stowed away on their ship, they made sure to release them back into what they thought was their natural habitat when they stopped by Angola. The thing is, the locals made up the Makala Miba as a joke because they thought white sailors would believe anything. They have no idea what these things are or where they came from. Oh. But yeah, they got creatures, cryptids all over on this map of what we would consider, the planet that we live on. The Yeti used to be the primary minions of the Nephilim living under the Himalayas. Now they were worried about the gulags taking their jobs. What? Because I think that's a reference off of South Park, the Goobacks or whatever. Like I said, this artist actually put a lot of thought into this. And I was kind of surprised about it. I think we got the chupacabra down here. Patagonian gnomes versus the chupacabra menace. The arrival of the Spanish at Adarn marked the first time European power set foot in the supercontinent, and the encounter of the not quite human denotes set of heated debates on legal and theological matters across Christendom, where they besold beings like normal man, subhuman creatures, slightly higher than beast, lacking a rational soul, or parahuman being, lacking original sin, as such needed to be treated as beast or man, but as children needing guidance. So apparently they could be taught, I guess, or they could understand. They weren't quite beast, but they weren't making decisions on their own. They needed to be, like they said, led like children. Whichever the answer, any philosophical camp fell on one thing was certain: the little men were pretty funny. On the years following the discovery of Aten, many students would be sent over all corners of the Spanish Empire, primarily to the Philippines, Spanish America, and many desperate Spanish colonies across Atlas. Through some would end up in Spain and Africa too. However, these charming circus beasts, as well as was often the fate of the gnomes and the goblins, so they ended up being circus people, were much smarter than they let on, and they managed to escape many catastrophic breakout events, sometimes including the release of other more dangerous animals into the circus grounds, while the diminutive humanoids made their escapes. The new wild population of Duins, I don't know what his word is that he's trying to call these race of people. The Duins became quite a nuisance for the countryside of the Spanish colonies. And so the Spanish, looking to overturn this annoyance, began importing the strange and extremely unstable bat like chupacabras to hunt the duendes. These creatures would, much like the duendes themselves, become feral and expand across the territories. They were introduced into becoming a much more concerning plague, as surviving victims of the chupacabra bites would tend to violently mutate into forms similar to the chupacabra itself. As the Spanish Empire collapsed during the Napoleonic Wars, these infestations became the problem of the colonies, and as fate would have it, the best hunters of the chupacabra would end up being the imported duendes themselves. So the gnome type people that they were bringing in the first place ended up being the best hunters for the chupacabra after the chupacabra was in there to hunt them. But yeah, there's definitely some. Oh, this is okay. I'll do one more, and then we'll go back to the lore, because these are just teasers, really. Um, Missing. Have you seen this landmass? Last seen in the Irish Sea in the year of our Lord 1656. The reward is 12,500 pounds sterling. Reward for accurate information verifying the whereabouts of His Majesty's beloved island. I don't know how they have a missing island here. It just disappeared. I just think the thought put into this map is so in depth. Howdy, Mud Rabbit. Let's see. Sorry, I'm catching up the chat. After I go on a little reading spree, I'll go back and catch the chat. I timed him out because he was trying to correct my typos. I'd rather do that myself. Canadian? We know a lot of history from maps, help to establish timelines using the maps. Hey, Mud Rabbit. Well, at least I never blocked him. Yeah, that's true. Thank you for not blocking anybody. Patagonia is the home of the giants, according to the old maps in Sailor Diaries. Yep. Yeah, because they often referred to them as the Patagonian people, and they were some of the only people that actually had come back to the New World at different cycles, because apparently there's cycles, and it's restarted more than once, according to that research. There's been reported sightings of goblins in Ohio, according to Wankaroo. I haven't heard about that. Emily must be mad at me. Channel drama. Patagonia, roughly translated to large feet. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, don't listen to me ramble about nonsense if if you got English class to do. We lost a Mexican island but found a new continent in Southeast Asia. Oh, I see. So is that why? Oh yeah, she's probably just busy. Canadian, why are you so aggressive today? Gosh. Hopkinsville elves. Haven't heard of those. But yeah, I don't know why. I think this topic is fun. I know I'm just cheesing like a kid in a candy store, but I really do like these topics a lot. So I'm gonna get we'll have to talk about Zonasia, Xenoasia, and then we'll probably talk about the Attons next after I do the dreams of Atlas. Because basically this is just explaining how these gates open and how it got to this point in the first place. So I got to give you some of this lore in order to explain the map. Like I said, if I have to do this in multiple parts, I don't mind doing it. Maybe I'll just cut it off at like a 2-hour mark or something, because I want to be able to talk to everybody in the chat. If you guys have any questions, or if you see something on the map you want me to pull up, just let me know. I can jump around a little bit. If you want to check out this map yourself, it's at deviant.com, and the artist is Ohawhewhe, or Ohawhewhe. It's spelled like OHAWHEWHE. So if you want to find that artist on deviant.com, Deviant is really cool when it comes to looking for artwork. They have so much artwork on there. Anything you can think of that you like artwork of, they have it. Old maps, space, yeah, and they're all just artist constructs or digital constructs. They're a lot of fun though, and you can buy them and you can sell your own art on there as well. I bet April knows about it. They've been around a while. Deviant, yeah, that's the one. Well, somebody on Reddit made a thread, and they were talking about this, and I was trying to find their source. Their source was actually Deviant, and they had downloaded this map, and doing exactly what I did, had to zoom in and read all of this stuff by hand, because if you look at the map itself, it's huge. Like all this writing, you have to actually open a zoom feature. I tried to open it on my desktop, and it wouldn't be enough to zoom in far enough. I'm gonna pour a drink here. Hope everybody's doing well. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in so far. It was cool getting to see Aaron the other night. Made me like realize, it kind of hit harder seeing him on Rumble. But yeah, and knowing that he's not going to be on YouTube anytime soon, I need him to create a Twitter account, and then I can help him. That's what I want to do. All right. We're getting fancy. Refresh your snacks. Use the bathroom real quick. We'll get back to it. Woody, you got to come on here sometime when I'm doing an open format, because you dig into some of the same fun topics that I do. I think it's fun. We had such a good conversation too over with Jimmy, and it was all surface level stuff. Like, we didn't even really go into depth on it because Jimmy kept pulling us off topic. But that's Jimmy's style. Then I'll ask him a question and make sure like we're not talking over him sometimes. Oh, you want to join in with me? Yeah, I gotcha. Actually, let me do it when I'm doing an open panel. I want to, Woody. I want to give you a link, but otherwise I won't read the rest of this. And it'll start like slowing down my StreamYard link. if I give it out, it'll start slowing down what I'm sharing. I don't want to be able to share it with everybody. Actually, I'm going to do it anyway. I want to see. It might work. If it doesn't work, then oh well. Let me try it. I'll change it up if it doesn't work. But I've been wanting to have you on. When you messaged in the other day, I tried to catch you, but it looked like you were in and out. I think I have a format for 2 people. Where I can still show people what I'm going over and hopefully get another person on here cleanly. And everybody else watching, let me know if it starts going real slow or something. Here's the dog. Your profile picture on your thing kind of threw me off because I never saw I saw your picture of your dog last time. You know. Here, let me bring you up. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to. It's up to you.
Well, at least you know who it is now. Sometimes it's not a.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great, man. I hear you great.
Good.
Wow, a good topic tonight. There's a lot to dissect. It looks like on that well done map.
Oh yeah, it's a very in-depth map, and when I stumbled across it, I was like, I could read this for hours. And
Right.
I've been watching a lot of people do flat Earth stuff and ice wall stuff, and I just think it's an interesting topic. And it sounds like you've dug into it a little bit. And like I know like the Admiral Byrd stuff with like the inner Earth and what he did in Antarctica, and I know that one that me and you were both talking about where they visited that city of giants and they went to like the capital, and there was some kind of a conflict going on with them and another race of beings or something.
Yeah, the Patagonians are interesting because I believe the translation literally means big feet,
Which makes sense.
Which would go right along with it. And they talked about these giants that were 10, 11 feet, 12 feet tall. And they're on all the maps. It's just in a one-off. I mean, you know, every once in a while they'd throw a snake or a serpent out in the middle of an ocean, you know, just because. But at the end of the day, they are consistently showing these giants in South America where they have supposedly have found bodies.
I think they have the Patagonian people in this map, but I think it's through the southern weird gate that they have in the south, because that's where it seems to be like the most people is right off. Well, I guess we would call it south, but it's like between Africa and South America. But I think this is the area that they were talking about in that story. And they call it Thoth, and that's the Sentinel's Gate that they supposedly went through in that story.
That's the Emerald Tablets, correct?
Thoth, the Emerald Tablets, and also was involved in the Book of the Dead. Couple other ones.
Yeah, he's an Egyptian deity, right?
Yes. Aleister Crowley studied Thoth a lot. That was he was very much
is the reason
considered the occultist and death guy.
Crowley is the only guy to be banned
because they said it's off Neuschwabenland or whatever. It was named after the Germans. I remember this now.
Yeah, the Neuschwabenland was their foray into Antarctica to create a alien base. They say.
Yeah, and that's where the Nazis fell into gate on this map.
Well, there's a reason why all those Nazis fled to Argentina and fled to South America. Yeah. You can almost, the most direct route to South America, to Antarctica, is through South America.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the U-boats were showing up. Well, not the U-boats. Didn't they have a couple of U-boats show up in South America?
Oh yeah, that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was numerous reports of a U-boat pulling up and a guy with a little mustache jumping out and running into the woods.
Yeah, years after the war too.
Towards the end of the war years, I think that maybe Hitler, I think Dr. Mengele ended up down there too.
Oh, well, and I mean, there's just so much weird stuff surrounding Antarctica, and it's kind of weird that it's not somewhere you can just take a trip to. You can't just go and visit Antarctica and check it out yourself. And then, like we were talking about with like Admiral Byrd, and then I don't know if it was in the last 15 or 20 years, because I remember it when all of those heads of state in the U.S. and across the globe went down there for some kind of meeting.
Well, right, John Kerry, who was, I believe, Secretary of State at the time under Clinton, he actually left the campaign to meet the Pope and
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin. They drug remember old Buzz Aldrin? They drug his ass down there, and he got sick and damn near died. But he's an old man. They put him in Antarctica. Not exactly Antarctica plus elderly, not conducive to long-term relationship.
Well, it often makes me think of like all of these stories, like because the stories that we hear, I do think they have pieces of truth in them, and then they're overtold for so long. Because when people talk about this like lush, fertile land, like past the ice, like there's this spot where there's just flowing water and green trees and grass and animals, and I feel like they passed it somehow. Like if people are depicting it as an ice wall, I think those people actually went past it. I don't think it's a section inside of ice that is a clear area. I think they actually cleared it somehow, and they were just depicting it as they stumbled upon a green area or a lush area inside of Antarctica because they didn't know how to describe it any other way.
Right, and they had a lot of problems too, because a lot of these people were unaware that there was actually land underneath. If you were looking at modern maps, it's not exactly a place you can go across. It's hard to even fly across. Well, first of all, you can't fly across it; they'll shoot your ass down. But you could theoretically. So we're still learning things about Antarctica, even though we're supposed to have been, we're supposed to have explored it long ago. But the early maps in our life, not in our lifetime, but in modern man's time, the maps show Antarctica with no ice.
Yeah.
And accurate.
And that's what I was referencing when I was telling Terry. I was like, that's kind of why I think of them as historical maps, is because we don't know Antarctica without ice. Like to us, that has to be history, because we've never been on this planet when Antarctica had exposed shores like that. Like they depicted in those old maps. And they even had creatures on the surface of those shores, depicting on what animals were there, and yeah, they were very specific.
Well, the Germans established New Schwabland and had the submarine base there, and that's where they were doing some of their experiments.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that they had talked about that as being the Third Reich and where they were going to start it, and then I also had heard it was going to be the moon. I've heard a lot of stuff when it comes to the Nazis. I feel like it's kind of that thing where some people put God there. When they reach a farthest point where they can't explain it anymore, they go, "Oh, that's probably the Nazis." But we do have evidence of them going to Antarctica. We do have evidence that they were interested in going to the moon and what was going on in the moon. And it's just weird that it all ends up being like this underground, or this I don't know, not mainstream, like almost underground society of people that are building up to at some point come back out again. I don't know if I can always put it on the Nazis. I don't think they were as smart as we've given them.
Listen, if you do not think for a second that we love the Nazis in America, you're out of your mind. Because first of all, most of us are German in the Midwest.
That's what we were talking about.
German. I said
that's what me and you were talking about. We were talking about that with Jimmy, and he just didn't understand it. I was like, no.
You're over
If
his
you
head.
understand Project Paperclip, you know that these people were showing up and we were giving them passes. If it wasn't the Catholic Church, we were giving them passes. That's how we started NASA. That's how we got what we have today when it comes to technology.
Well, exactly. Well, it's amazing how we exponentially learned how to take care of a lot of issues. I mean, the Nazis, as terrible as they were, which they were, the worst, they experimented on human guinea pigs, something that America could not do.
Yeah.
So there's one asshole. His whole job was the Germans were losing too many pilots due to hypothermia. So his goal was to learn a way to get German pilots to last longer in ice water. So he would freeze Jews to death, experimenting, making them drink things, alcohol, antifreeze, all these things to see how long they could keep them alive in ice. And so they would monitor them until they died.
That sounds like the Germans making some kind of concoction and put it in whatever, just to try to get them to survive longer or perform better.
He became the American father of space medicine. But wait, why? Why is the father of space medicine? What makes this guy special? Well, I'll tell you why. He had a little contraption called the 8-ball. And what he had done was, in addition to the whole ice cube thing, was he put people in this 8-ball and cranked the pressure up until their eyeballs and heads blew up. That was how he was experimenting on G-forces. Everything we know about G-forces and the way our bodies work and things like that, a lot of it came from, not everything, but a lot of it came from that experimentation that doctor did, who came to America and lived a very good life.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Werner von Braun. I mean, there's so many big names. Like, you can't deny the fact that the Nazis basically just walked into the U.S. I mean, we just wanted the research that they had been doing because we didn't have the balls to do it publicly. I mean,
we snuck them over here. Either we were going to get them or the Nazis. That's the argument. Somebody's going to get them.
Well, I thought it was the Cold War from happening. I thought it was they were bringing this to arm up for the Cold War. And
it is. I mean, that's where we got our V2 rocket technology.
Yeah.
You know, and number two, Werner von Braun, who's the father of NASA, who had a Disney show on Sunday nights explaining science to the children while he was working. Well, 20 years before, he had Jewish children working to death in a death camp building rockets. That Werner von Braun. Well, his number two was a guy named Dornberger, and he was a real piece of work. America loved him too. We brought him over here, and he founded Bell Helicopter. So all those he got here just in time to develop Bell Helicopter for the Korean War, where they shot them down one right after the other. Dornberger, von Braun's number two high-ranking Nazi officer, is the guy that invented the MASH helicopter.
I got a question for you since we're on the topic. Do you think the Nazis ever completed the Wunderbar or the Nazi Bell?
You know, we don't really have any proof of it, but we have found where they obviously had something being chained down and hovering around. I would say they probably have some. I think they probably had some technology they had been working on, mainly because they didn't give a shit if anybody died or not. And you can do a lot of shit. You can do a lot of experimentation if you just don't give a shit if the asshole sitting in the chair makes it.
Yeah. And I always liked the connection that people put to the Kecksburg incident, how it was bell-shaped, and the people that found it very, very easily could have mistaken German, like whatever they were putting on their stuff as, you know, a different language or alien writing, because they wouldn't have known it. I think it's interesting, the Kecksburg incident, and tying it to the Nazi Bell. There's a theory about that they think that's proof that it worked.
It may be just popping in and out of, because there's been several Bell type sightings. It may be popping in and out of our uh, reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be popping around time. I mean, is it really that? Is it really that that far into the future? Whenever we have AI, that might be able someday, quantum computer, be able to figure this out. Probably not. Someday, I would
Really,
imagine.
because we're talking about mid 40s to maybe early 50s, and this is at a time where we knew our U.S. military was 50 years more advanced than us. They have to be astronomically more advanced than us just in the time that's passed and the way that technology grows. So, and we're competing with these other people, these Nazis, and they are advancing in technology different than our own. So, of course, we're speculating that they're getting it from, help outside of this planet. We're speculating that they're speculating that we're getting help outside of this planet. Everybody's watching the skies. Like nobody really knows how smart the other side is, and it just comes to a lot of people jumping to conclusions. I wonder if there was any alien involvement on either side, or if they were getting help by anybody, because I always think that's something that gets brought up into the whole discussion when it came to whose ships are whose and who's doing what. Because
Well,
this is all around the time that that flying saucers, like the term of it, was actually invented. Uh, the skipping saucer or whatever.
yeah. I think it's interesting that bell shape has repeatedly been shown. It shows up at Kecksburg. It shows up. Another bell shaped item showed up in Britain at the Royal Air Force Base.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But one of the
That's
things
the
I
one where
admit,
the guys touched it in the woods.
yeah, fucked him
Yeah,
up.
and they got the binary code and wrote it all
Mm-hmm.
down. Yeah,
Yep, that was. I'm trying to think of the name of the Royal Air Force Base. But yeah, there's a Royal Air Force Base where that happened.
yeah. I heard about that one.
I always wonder, when we're talking about an alien being, that's obviously, if they're coming from outer space to here, hypothetically, that means they are of deep intelligence. And
I think it
I
depends. I
and I
think
have a theory.
I think
I
we
have a
might be having
theory that
naive minds, though, Woody. Like, why do we automatically assume that they're doing some kind of propulsion thing to travel over a great distance? You know what I mean? I think we're too dumb to understand it, and we're trying to guess what they would do in order to travel those great distances. I mean, if they're interdimensional beings, how far are they actually traveling? If
that's true.
if they've come up with some kind of hyperdrive that we don't know about or something like that, then I mean, there's endless possibilities. And I think the people that go, oh, nobody could travel those great distances, the way that we think about it, it's kind of counting out the fact that there could actually be intelligent life out there.
My thing is that I have cows behind my house, and they're like expensive cows. They're like show cattle.
Okay.
No matter how nice they look or how smart they are, I can go out there all day long and try to teach them algebra, and they're never going to fucking learn it. You can have Einstein, the best professors in the world, come here and talk to those cows, and they just ain't going to get it. And I think of maybe that sometimes, why would aliens come here and share shit with us when maybe we don't have the elements, we don't have the technology available yet? We may not have the human IQ or the human mindset or brain to interact with even such beings at this point.
Yeah.
So how are they going to explain that to us?
That's why I always thought if it was anything, it's more of the ancient alien theory with the Anunnaki. I think if anything, we were a slave race, and that might explain our huge gap in DNA of unexplained of how we progressed the way we did. I kind of believe in the stoned ape theory. I kind of believe in when we started cooking meats, our brains grew a little bit, but it doesn't really make up for how advanced we got in such a short period of time. Um, if anything, I think we were a slave race used to mine minerals or something from our planet. I don't think we were considered, equals by any means, which is what humans want to be. They want to be equal. They want to consider themselves the center of the universe. Um, and they want to think that everything revolves around them. And that seems to be how we try to explain everything else, you know?
Well, that's a very American outlook.
Yeah, true.
I mean, anything that happens in the world, well, it has to be America, right? I mean, there's no other really countries, just us.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean,
very Western idea.
Very Western idea. Well, let's find out if you're going to put what you said to the test, which I'm not going to discredit, your theory that we were a slave race. I've read those articles. I believe that they wanted us to mine for gold. Well, I don't think it's coincidental that we've had a spike of TikToks lately, and we just found $700 billion or $1 trillion worth of gold in Zambia. So if they really wanted to mine gold, we'll find out real quick, because there's a shit ton of it now in Africa we just found.
I mean, I guess it depends. Because if that story holds any merit, which, like I said, it's still a story to me. I just think it's more believable that either we're a civilization with amnesia, like we used to be more advanced humans than we are now, or we had help in the past, or there was another advanced race of beings on this planet prior to us. Because I do think that's a global problem, is we think that we are the most advanced form of life form that has ever been on this planet. And we like to consider ourselves like the smartest version of ourselves. But if you just look at the progress of the pyramids, like the oldest pyramids are built the best, and then they get worse after that.
Right.
Like there's something about these old structures all across the planet, that some of them that haven't even been exposed to sunlight in 3,000 years because they're underwater. And
also under in the jungle too.
We talked about the base under the Parthenon. And you did. The granite plate or whatever they have under the Parthenon that we couldn't even move today. We don't know how to move it. We just know where it came from because we can see the quarry that they cut it out from, because there's still another piece over there that didn't get moved.
Well,
it's weird.
There is a whole, you get the Moai too. So you've also got the Moai on Easter Island being built. Those, by the way, are huge full bodies, not heads.
Yeah.
We thought they were heads. They're actually entire bodies underneath there.
In the last 5 years, I learned that the Moai weren't just heads.
Right. Yeah, some jackass after all these years said, has anybody ever dug one of these fucking things up? I don't know. Let's do it then. It found a. But here's the kicker, though. This in Easter Island, you can spend days talking about Easter Island.
Yeah.
Easter Island. Let me cough here. Easter Island, the people that are on, once they finally dug them all out, they have very distinct long fingers, and they cross at the stomach. It's very distinct. That's what the Moai look like. If you go to Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, you will see the exact same figurines. They're not shaped all the way in the head, but they are carved in relief of the columns at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Are you familiar with Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe is next level insanity to me. And what I really want to know is why it was destroyed. Like, because we're looking at a destroyed civilization when we look at Göbekli Tepe, because we understand that there was some kind of disaster. Like, everything's blown apart, and we don't know why. Actually, but the precision cutting that they were doing was insane.
Well, it wasn't blown apart. It was actually the reason why the Göbekli Tepe is so important is because it was purposely covered up before that cataclysmic event. They covered it up the same time 11,000 years ago, before the world went to hell. It was purposely covered up, and that's just what I mean. That's the whole thing. Is they just went after it. It was covered by dirt and jungle preserved. Yeah, it was supposed to be a pot-bellied hill, and they dug it up, and they found that the things that were in there left behind were like 13,000 years old, which is way before they say that we were able to do it.
Yeah, I think
we probably had pyramids here for 100,000 years.
Oh yeah, I would say the pyramids are a minimum of 21,000 years old. I believe that they were in a time when Egypt was a lush area, and there's marks of water erosion on the encasing of the Sphinx, uh, and all of the other things that were built around the same time that kind of point to the fact that it was a lush environment at the time. Let me
Yeah,
catch up the chat for a second. Wonkaroo made a joke. He said, "If aliens are so smart, how come Michael Jordan dunked on them?" I assume he's talking about Space Jam.
nice. A great show.
I think that most of them aren't aliens, and
Since the word.
expect sense of the word. I think some are interdimensional. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people speculate that they're interdimensional, and it would make a lot more sense when it comes to travel, but also not provable. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that we could just speculate on. It's just interesting. I was covered by dirt, and it was covered by dirt and jungle. It's preserved. A similar thing at
Angkor Wat. Yeah,
Angkor
it's,
Wat.
yeah,
What's
Angkor
Angkor
Wat.
Wat?
That's in Cambodia, I believe, and it's if that's what I'm thinking about. It's an absolutely gorgeous temple, absolutely gorgeous temple. But it's very unique in its design. It's a very untraditional. It reminds people a lot of the Hindu gods issues, where they talk about the Hindu gods having nuclear weapons, of course,
Oh yeah, with the Vanamas and
and they're flying around. They're flying around with
machines
spaceships, nuking each other.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I, I think it's very possible that there is wars in the sky that we are trying to understand. What was that old? That wasn't there an old drawing from like the medieval times of like these circles in the sky that were like shooting like balls of light and stuff at each other, and they were depicted as two different colors. And it was an old medieval painting. It wasn't too outdated, but it was enough to be like, why are all of these lights in the sky?
The most famous painting is the one of Madonna and Child, I believe it is. And in the background, there's something hovering above, and there's a guy actually standing and staring at it in the background.
Oh yeah, and he's like pointing up at the sky.
Yeah, he's like pointing
I
at
know
the
what you're
sky.
talking about, that old ancient one. But no, there's another one where they're looking up at the sky and they see a battle. But yeah, there's that other one where they got the little man inside of that craft. He's like looking backwards. He almost looks like Jesus.
That's quite
The weirdest
and
thing.
Quetzalcoatl. That's Quetzalcoatl
Yeah.
in his flying machine that they found in Africa in relief. It shows him on his back on a rocket.
Some with Baalbek. Yeah, I've heard of Baalbek, and that's one place I've been. Oh, nice. I never got to go to any of these places. That would be cool. The Temple of Jupiter looks at the world like a landing pad.
Well, Nazca Lines.
Yeah.
Nazca Lines, man. I mean, why the hell would people spend all that time making a monkey out of rocks on a plane that nobody can see for another 5,000 years? Help me understand that.
Oh yeah, the Nazca lines are so hard to explain.
I mean,
you weren't trying to communicate with something above your head, even if it was a misinterpretation. Maybe they thought something above their head could understand them, which is totally possible. Maybe that's why they drew the lines. Maybe it doesn't have to be an alien or a ship or anything like that. It could have just been a misunderstanding. Maybe they were trying to talk to their gods. Who knows? But they were clearly doing something on the ground to be seen above.
Exactly.
But at least we can all agree on that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't see it until you get airborne, and then you can't miss it. Yeah. But there are a lot more lines and things, though, that people look at the Nazca lines and they immediately think, well, there's the monkey, and then there's the snake. I don't remember all the shapes now. But if you look at them, but if you look at the entirety of them, there's a lot of just straight lines.
They got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like one section is like two different landing strips, a larger one and a smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I'm convinced that they were for some kind of a flying craft. But I mean, and wasn't that the same area that they found those like handheld they thought they were toys at the time, but they were designed perfectly aerodynamic to fly.
Planes, little airplanes.
Yeah,
and they put them in a wind tunnel, and they're aerodynamic.
Yeah. And
I mean,
it looks like it would be top heavy. Like if you actually look at the structure itself, like the toy itself,
yeah.
it looks like it would be top heavy, but it's perfectly designed. It's the weirdest thing.
And that was done a long time
I
ago.
mean, and you're in the Midwest, I think, like I am. I like some of the stuff that they're finding around in the Midwest of like these ancient civilizations that they're digging up in the ground now, and they're finding like old toys, old figurines, old all these things that like predate the Indians, and when we thought the Indians were the only thing here prior to us.
Well, the Mississippians at Cahokia and other places had cities larger than at the time London,
Yeah,
and a lot more organized, and a lot more clean, and a lot more sterile, and a lot healthier.
I mean,
Those Native Americans could spread out; they didn't have to pile on top of each other on an island like they did in Britain.
oh
The
yeah,
slums.
I think civilization on this side, if we're taking the land bridge out of the equation, I think South America and they just started moving up, like because you're talking about vast, huge civilizations out in South America, and they have the structures buried in the jungle to prove it. Like you're talking about vast cities. I mean, with huge populations, and yeah, I think they slowly moved up from Mexico and South America, and eventually came into the northern places, but. I bet that's where civilization, just like in Africa, I think that's where all of man started. I mean, there's an argument to be made that if man was going to start, it was going to start by the equator, and then they would eventually spread out from there. Let's see, it's working, but slow to load. Oh, something going on with Rumble today?
But one of the problems you're going to have with that, that things start at the equator. Let's not forget that the equator used to be Antarctica before the polar shift.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything we know about ancient civilization can very easily be covered under 20 miles of ice.
With the continental shifts, do you think that's a pattern of 15,000 to 32,000 years regular? Like it's going to happen regardless of what's going on the planet and what humans are doing or anything else?
When it comes to continental drift, absolutely, it is not man-made.
Yeah,
they just found an ocean a complete ocean under our crust.
mm-hmm.
And as long as you have that ocean under the crust, that means there's going to be room to move. And when that's continental drift. So yeah, it's not going to happen. And we will eventually all become another island, another Pangea.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy how people just assume that everything's been the same, and there's got to be so many civilizations that were lost to history just from continental drift. If we're speculating that there's been civilizations on this planet, the only ones that we're looking at is the ones that weren't affected by continental drift. If that's what the leftover of the pyramids is, if that's what these land masses that we can see today, these old structures are, and they're as old as we're claiming they are, then we're lucky to see them after the continental drifts.
Right.
Because there had to have been twice as much that disappeared.
Well, agreed. I mean, you can't even imagine what's underneath all that sand. I mean, you said it perfectly that there's evidence of water in Egypt. I mean, that's Robert Schoch and Bob Schoch and Baval, I believe is his name.
Yeah, Robert Schoch his was the rainfall itself, not like lush underneath, but the rainfall percentage. He goes, it's clear rainfall erosion, and that's at least what he came to. I mean, nobody in Egypt really accepts it because they don't really accept any new ideas about Egypt. But yeah, no, I've constantly followed what's been going on with Egypt and what they allow out, and it started with Robert Schoch and probably ended with Graham Hancock, and I haven't really seen anything where Egypt is really opening up and ready to take on new evidence.
They love to get investments to spend in Egypt, and then when you tell them something they don't want to hear or they don't want you to know, they kick you out of the country. Yeah. They did the same thing when they did the sonar ground reading penetration underneath the left paw. If you're facing at the left paw of the Sphinx, same thing. Edgar Casey said they found an open area, Mince Cavern. They said, sure, let's do it. They tried to map it out the best they can, and when they got ready to actually do the entrance, Zawahiri quit. And he was the head of Egyptian antiquities. The guy's just a thug, is what he is.
Oh yeah. And the insults that he throws at other people that are literally trying to come with information. They're not trying to have an argument, and he's just trying to keep his feet in the sand, literally, and not change any of his beliefs about what's going on. He's pretty much set in stone, and I don't think he's ever going to be changed in his lifetime because he's still alive. He still has involvement in everything that's going on over there.
Well, yeah, Mud Rabbit brought up a good point. He says Zawi Hawass was paid to keep quiet. Absolutely. I think Zawi Hawass was paid to talk for a while and then paid to shut up for a while. I think that son of a bitch played both sides of the fence.
He's not in charge
all the way. And even though, as Mud Rabbit pointed out, he's not there anymore. He has stepped down. I think he's still alive. But for the record, he stepped down I think 5 times. And anytime something notable shows up, guess who their go-to guy is? It's Zawi Hawass. I mean, he's basically their bag man, their hatchet man.
Yeah.
I
have as much of a problem with Zawi Hawass as I do about the Smithsonian as well. Because I think the Smithsonian is another example of people just being stuck in their ways and not wanting to accept new information.
Well, you can't change your mind if you're only allowed so much information.
Yeah.
I mean, the Smithsonian was shown on more than one occasion. I want to say Smithsonian now that I've said that out loud, but it might have been the National Space Museum. It doesn't matter. One of those two, both national entities. They both publicly put up fake pictures from training and tried to pass them off as actual Apollo footage. And they were caught and busted by an investigator, and they had to change the pictures, some of the pictures they had, because they were just false. They were done on a soundstage. Sound coincidental? It was done. They were pictures from a soundstage. They got caught. They got busted.
The same thing come up when they got busted for how they were constructing dinosaurs. They were guessing on so many things and coming up with dinosaurs that aren't actually provable that they were an actual species, and they got busted on that a couple times. That's why I think in my lifetime we've started to establish that they're a lot closer to feathered beings than reptile, like we've thought of them for so long.
So they're not birds.
I think they are closer to birds.
Yeah, that velociraptors supposedly had feathers.
Which makes sense because we've known for how long? Like I've known since I was in school that the closest DNA that we have to T-Rex was a chicken. I've known that. So it's like how would something get all the way to a chicken, without having any common characteristics that we can think of today? So feathers, right? Good chance that they were there.
Right.
And the big skeletons that they hid. Oh yeah, I don't even want to talk about the red-headed giants.
Oh, that is a rabbit hole up on a rabbit hole. Now you get going to Nephilim.
So now you know why that's Mud Rabbit. That's her forte. She's
is that
the
it?
rabbit hole queen.
Okay, yeah. Well, Mud Rabbit, you can be the queen. I'm right here with you. Yeah, the giants. I think the Smithsonian, the shit they found in that cave in. The cave they found in the Grand Canyon, that is, by the way, now off limits. You can't go there. It's under federal jurisdiction. Penalty of trespass.
Wasn't that in Death Valley or something?
It was in the Grand Valley. That guy found a bunch of ancient Egyptian
and it was
artifacts.
Egyptian stuff. Yeah. That stuff all got closed off.
I thought, and they blocked out of the canyon. Of course, they found. In White Sands, they found that gold in that cave. I don't know if you knew that or not. There was a cave, and they found a ton of gold bars in it. And as soon as they found there were a ton of gold bars, it was adjacent to White Sands Air Force Base. So White Sands just said, "Oh, that's our mountain. We have that under. That's national." And they had to go to court for years over it. And they finally got in there and got some bars. Type it White Sands gold gold mine.
Where does White Sands fall in?
That's Area 51. That's Groom Lake.
Oh, okay.
What sands
I
is
was
that
wondering
area?
if it was possible that it was the Nazi gold that everybody speaks of, but it wouldn't be out there.
No, if there's going to be anything out there, I would say it would be the Confederate gold that disappeared at the end of the Revolution, that they were going to use to colonize the Golden Circle, Knights of the Golden Cross. They were
Yeah.
planning on spreading the Confederacy all the way around the Yucatan Peninsula, and that was the gold they were going to use to do it. You can still go to South America and see Confederates down there. They're called Confederales, and they still do square dances and things and fly Confederate flags.
Huh.
Not kidding. There were remnants of the South that didn't. They were remnants of the South that didn't get a chance to take over everything, so they just stayed.
She said, "I got one for you. If you go out to the Everglades, there's oil wells all over the place, capped off pipes sticking 3 to 4 feet out of the ground with cement footing. They've been out there since I can remember."
They may have just drawn out. They may have just run out of oil. Where I live, my girlfriend was riding out here with me for the first time out to the country, and she's like, "Why do they have these dog pens in the middle of fields?" And I'm like, "Dog?" She goes, "Yeah, well, that right there is a square dog pen in the middle of that field." And I'm like, "Honey, that's not a dog pen. That's a nuclear missile base. It's a silo." Nobody puts a dog out in the middle of the field for no reason. But but within the local high school, within 5 miles of the local high school, well, let's put it this way. If you were in the high school facing out the back windows, theoretically, you could have watched an ICBM leave the ground outside your school and go nuke Russia. You could watch it from recess. That's how close the base was, or the nuclear silo was to the high school and middle school, elementary. I mean, the track team runs by it to warm up.
Oh, Mother, I had an update for us. She said the gold is not missing, and we got more oil than you can imagine. No, they never pumped them because it's the Florida Everglades, and most of the land is owned by the Osceolas or the Tigers.
Osceolas?
They drilled them, cleaned everything up, kept them, and left them. They've been sitting like that since the 50s. Interesting.
That's weird.
Who knows? Maybe they were putting taps in the ground and never got anything. You never know. I mean,
maybe the environmentals finally got something right.
That's true.
The land is owned by the Osceolas or the Tigers. I'm not sure. Osceola is the name of a famous Native American leader. We have a town named for him in Missouri. It's known for 2 things. They have a huge cheese factory. You can go there and eat all the cheese you want, the samples. And the other thing Osceola is known for was back in the day, they had when patients could still smoke in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
In hospitals, they had a guy smoking, caught himself on fire, right? So they said, "Turn on the sprinklers." And a lady went back, thought she was turning on the sprinklers, and cranked it over and put straight oxygen into the room. Jesus. So if you're familiar with what oxygen and flame does, it's not good. And because of that, apparently, that is why everything is labeled time and time and time again in different language and everything in hospitals because of that event. Osceola is taught to every safety major because they're the reason why hospitals are labeled upon labeled upon labeled of everything because they put that gas in it and blew up that hospital, killing like 30 people, I think, or something.
Tiger brothers are Seminoles. Mikosuki. Is that how you say it? Mikosuki?
The Seminoles from Florida?
Yeah. They owned the Hard Rock over here in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. They must have been there for a while if they ended up with all the casinos in the area. And medicine has childproof caps because the Tylenol poisoned back in the day. Yeah, that's exactly why.
Yeah, that asshole was just going by in stores and just dropping in Tylenol in different packages.
Yeah, that's why they have those safety strips now. It's
Yeah,
not even
that's
the caps it's not even the childproof caps. That's why they have those safety strips as well as the cotton and stuff in them. Like all of that was supposed to be, oh, if you see this punctured or anything, then you shouldn't consume this product.
Yeah, he did that because he wanted to. He did that because he wanted to. He had shorted the Tylenol company, right? It was an investment deal. It was a wall. It was a way to make money. He shorted the company and then started poisoning people, which obviously made people not use it.
And so then there was no demand for it. Gotcha.
I mean, no one's going to buy something that is being tracked to killing people.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
gloves, pliers, hedge trimmers to open a bottle of Advil. Yeah.
a note from your mother.
Hard to get into, that's for sure.
Yeah, I always wanted that because my dad was older. He was 94 when he passed away, and he had some heart medicine. I thought to myself, if he ever really needed to get to that medicine, he's dead because his old fingers will not let him turn that bottle.
Yeah, well, and then lining it up with those perforated edges and trying to get it to pop, like they're all a little different. The ones you got to push down to turn, like, yeah, they're all a headache. I mean, I guess I'm glad. I guess it's a good safety feature to have, but at the same time, I mean, that's not what you hear about kids abusing or something like that. The kids aren't going out and abusing Tylenol and Advil on a regular basis.
No.
That's not the drugs I'm worried about kids and, non-responsible people getting a hold of.
I always think it's interesting whenever you go to a dispensary and you buy something and it's got the most elaborate box you've ever seen. It's got all the, and I think that's bullshit. If you're going to sell me something from the earth, let's keep it as green as possible. I don't need to have fancy packaging on my shit.
Yeah, they got to make up for the price tag.
Right. Yeah, it's got to the point now. I'm an old hippie, but when you walk into a shop and they've got 30 different kinds of marijuana to choose from, it really, at some point, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that it seems like that's excessive. That
you
never get the same thing twice.
You know what my biggest issue with dispensaries is? They wanna look at marijuana like a medical thing, and then not treat it like one. If somebody comes into my dispensary and they're telling me they're having trouble sleeping, I'm pulling all of the sativas off the table.
Right.
But they don't do that at dispensaries. That's not how they do it. Like if you come in for chronic pain and they give you a sativa, they're not helping your situation, or for paranoia or anything like that. Like it's easy to prescribe somebody the wrong marijuana in any situation.
I have a buddy of mine who goes in and he buys whatever has the highest THC percent. So he's getting this, sativas at like 87% extract, and he's calling me 11 o'clock going, what the fuck's wrong with me? I can't sleep. I'm like, that's because it's working.
Yeah.
Okay. Stay away from shit that's got diesel in the name.
Right.
Stick with shit that says grape in the name.
Right.
Grape good, diesel bad.
Green crack, and I can't sleep.
Yeah, it's been a month. I haven't slept yet.
Oh, Jesus.
But to kick it up,
but I think that happens all the time, and I think that's going to be the biggest downfall with marijuana is the way that they're unrolling it. It's people are going to get prescribed the wrong thing. Somebody's going to have those adverse reactions because they're getting the wrong thing. Like this is a medicine to a certain extent, and they do act differently, and that's what I worry about is dispensaries just willy-nilly handing this out to the wrong people. And yeah, just like you said, someone's got a panic attack, they can't sleep.
Right.
It doesn't help what they originally wanted.
Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger on some white crack.
Yeah.
That's a new brand that or a new strain that came out.
New strain between White Widow and Green Crack, I'm assuming.
I think so. Yeah.
Or White
Well,
Rhino for the
it's
white
legal
one.
here. It's legal in my state.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm in Illinois. It's legal here too.
Yeah, I mean I'm in Missouri. So I mean it's
I've got a license for 6 plants, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I
now.
got some growing. I got White Widow going right now, and I have what's the other one? Northern Lights.
Oh, a couple of trusty old. I'm running.
Yeah, can't go wrong. I got some guaranteed female seeds, so it's just super easy. Just set it and forget it, and hope it comes out the way I want it. I got a light on them, but besides that, I'm just watering them, keeping up with them.
What are you using for soil?
Just potting soil, and then I'm also using food that I add once a month to the soil to replenish it.
Yeah, living soil additive. Yeah, I've got. As a matter of fact, in the city, I'm getting ready to put down some double grape Mephisto seeds, which is grape punch and I think sour crinkle.
Okay.
Mephisto has great seeds, expensive but great seeds. Yeah, compost. Yep.
Oh yeah, no, sometimes I mix mushroom compost in there. I'm a big mushroom compost fan, but I don't want to put too much into it. Like I want them to be. I have one growing right now just for seeds, and the rest of them are all females. So it's like I'm also growing Delta as well, and that's a whole different. It's so weird how different the plants are because I had Delta seeds and I had never done anything with them before. Delta is an interesting plant the way it grows.
Is it harder?
Yeah,
Is it harder than weed?
What's that?
Is it harder than weed?
To maintain, yes, because it puts off a lot more pollen and it puts off a lot more seeds. So you really have to isolate them in their growth process. Because otherwise they're going to convert everything in the area to a hermaphrodite.
Well, that's because they're male.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's what I mean is they produce a lot more pollen than a regular male.
Okay.
Like a regular male marijuana plant doesn't produce that kind of pollen. Like I'm talking like you could shake the plant and you got quite a bit dropping. Like it's so when you have proper wind circulation, you're always at risk of blowing pollen around, and I don't want to. I keep it very isolated from the rest of them.
I won't let regular seeds come anywhere near my house. I mean, I'll have feminized. I switched to auto grows.
I just got feminized seeds on this batch. I've never tried them before. But before that, I was just separating them and gendering them as they got bigger.
Right. The feminized, you don't have to worry about that, which is great.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
You can also, with feminized seeds, you can start with cuttings too. Don't forget that you can clone and cut.
Oh yeah, so I do have the cloning solution, and you have to wait till you get to a branching point. And right. I don't know, I'm too nervous. Like I don't want to cut into what I got because I'm worried. Because yeah, you can grow a table of heads with cloning, and that are tops, and that would be the best like ideal way to do it. You get top quality nugs, and you could keep them at a low height, and you could use one light to probably do the whole table of them. It's a good combo, but I don't know. I'm too nervous about the cloning.
I myself have never really done it. I want to. I just we're only allowed to grow so much at a time, and so I really don't want to fill up one of my spots taking it, experimenting.
Yeah, no, I get you.
At least not until I've got a decent reserve backed up.
Mm-hmm.
I made a mistake. I made a mistake last time because I have hydroponics too, and those work out great. The problem is though that I only
do you have it on a timing system where it recycles the same water back into it the same fluids back into it after a certain period?
It's gravity fed, and then I run bubblers on each particular. I run air hoses to each particular one to aerate and I have them hanging down right below the roots, so I'm always getting air into the roots below the basket.
Gotcha.
But the problem I have is I have four hydro places, and I used 3 of them strawberry cough, and I used 1 for wedding cake, I think it was. And that wedding cake, um, sucked up a lot of the nutrients from my strawberry cough, so I had to get rid of it to make the other ones go up. So my word of advice to anybody out there doing hydroponic, put 4. They do them all the same ones, so you can nutrients are the same. You turn into a bonsai.
What was that?
Someone said you can turn into a bonsai. I'm like, yeah, if I have 300 years to work on it, that'd be awesome. I love bonsai trees.
I mean, I don't know if it's true, but can you keep the female plants going for as long as you're keeping them fed?
No.
Or once it comes crop season, do you have to get a new? Because I know a lot of people just sit and clone off of the same female.
Yeah, well, you need to if you're trying to develop consistent phenotypes.
Yeah,
you have to be consistent with your
if you're
female.
trying to have a steady strain. No, I get you.
But you're generally, well, I will tell you that as far as my experience goes, they run a life cycle and they die.
That's what I always thought, because I've always had that experience. But then I know some people that have kept their females alive for a long period of time, and I didn't know if it was just through cloning that they were doing it or how that works.
That would be a trick. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I was just curious. Thought I'd pick your brain. You seem to have a little knowledge on it as well.
Yeah, I really don't get a whole lot. The cloning thing is pretty expensive if you look at.
Oh no, it's super cheap. All you need is those little square sponges.
I've got those.
And some cloning solution. I got some cloning solution for less than $8.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and then it's just a square cut out of a sponge, and you keep this the sponge moist. You dip the cloning. I got a powdered cloning solution. You just take a little snip at the bottom where you call it the stem, and it has to have a branch in order to be able to reroot. And then you dip it into the cloning solution, add it to the moist sponge, and it's supposed to establish roots in less than 2 weeks, I think. So
okay.
I'm still learning about it. Somebody else taught me about it that was an avid grower, and I'm still just too nervous because I don't have enough good plants where I want to be like, oh yeah, you should probably cut it all to pieces and try to clone it.
Right.
That same thing you were saying. I don't know if I want to take that experiment yet.
Right. I mean, the auto grow seeds I use are pretty expensive, so it's not something I want to experiment with auto grows.
Oh yeah, and they have those perfect tents and perfect climate things that you can buy now for like $3,000 a piece that'll grow one plant. Like they're real nice. Like they got really nice stuff for growing hydroponics now and everything else, but it's quite the investment.
Yeah, I run a 4x4 tent, 4 hydroponics in. I can actually put up to 9 plants in there if I want to. I run two LEDs, and then I have supplemental lighting from the bottom coming up for undergrowth. I've got LED grow lamps that I put along the sides to help develop all that stuff on the outside. And I run
nice to meet you.
Carbon filter vent, ventilation system to keep the smell out.
I think my biggest issue is keeping humidity levels where I want them. Besides just going like the only keep up I have is misting the area and kind of just keeping moisture in the area, but I can't keep it at the percentages I want. At least my reader isn't showing that I'm keeping it at the percentages that I'm aiming for. But I would have to not have a job and just stay home and worry about them all day. Because I don't have a fully enclosed area, I guess. It's not totally sealed off. It's got an open top where the lights sit, and I should get a fully enclosed area. I think if I ever get like totally committed to it and get into it more like a craft beer thing, and where you're actually taking the time and experimenting with it, then I'll probably get something nicer. But until I get to that point, I'm just kind of winging it and learning as I go.
I would like to get a small shipping container that
Ooh.
I can just paint the outside of it. And just hose in there, hose it out, put holes in the floor to drain. You'd have a heavy lock on it. I mean, you couldn't break into it unless you put effort, brought tools.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that'd be the best way to go.
I mean, I've got
For me.
people, some of the old houses that are in my area that were built in like the 1950s and stuff. They have greenhouses attached to the house, like bricked into the actual house. And I'm like, oh, that would be so perfect. Have
That'd
a
be
room
awesome.
where I could set the temperature, that's attached to the rest of my house. That would be my ideal goal, where I just got like this botanical garden attached to my house.
Well,
Just do it year round.
I move my computer out there, just be surrounded by all the healthy plants and.
Right. Can't knock the extra oxygen.
Oh, absolutely not. All right, bud. Well, hey, I've got to run, but it's
All
really
right.
great talking to you, man. Love talking to
Talk
you.
again soon, Woody.
Hey, chat. Nice talking to everybody. God bless everyone. And yes, Royal Seeds is pretty good. By the way, you can get great seeds from Britain. However, you can't grow it in Britain. That's illegal. Go figure. All right. Talk to you.
All right. That was Woody. I told you guys that me and him had a good conversation on Jimmy Rizzo's show. And since he was available, I had to invite him up. So it was awesome that he was able to come up. But I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. And then I'm going to get back to catching up on the lore of the maps. And then I think I'm going to, I'll cap it at a good point, and then we'll set this as a part 2 to learn about the rest of the map. I could probably do 10 parts on this. So like I said, I didn't know Woody was going to come on. I'm just happy he did. It was cool getting to talk to him, and he dives into a lot of the same topics that we talk about. So it should be interesting to have him on again. But yeah, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna pull this up on large screen so everybody can see it. Or maybe, what do you think? Should I zoom out to the map and let everybody check out the map a little bit? I got this title that says we're looking at the 1830 AD map. And I don't have the 1830 AD map pulled up with the ice wall. So I'll back up a little bit, let everybody check this out while I use the bathroom real quick, and we'll get back into it. Remember, this circle right here, that's supposed to be Antarctica. After I get through this, I want to go through some of the gates tonight as well, because I think the gates themselves are famous in a lot of stories that have been covered by other people involving the inner Earth. Check that link, Jacob. Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I'm always down for places to find nice seeds. Actually, let me mute my microphone real quick. Oh, I can full screen it. That looks a lot better. Jacob, why didn't you do this the first time? Ooh, the Leviathan Gate. Shangri-La. Oh, we're about to get deep. This is my shiz. We can go through the race of beings that are all over. We got plenty of topics to cover, but yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break and I'll be right back. Maybe I'll throw on some tunes in the background. All right. Let's get back to this. Breaking news: rapper Neffex to release new song "Haunt" tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. I got some breaking news for you, Canadian. Neffex is going to be doing a show in Chicago that I'm looking into tickets for. So I'll keep you posted on that if I end up going or not. If they give out tickets to the place that I call into and try to win tickets from. I'm going to a concert Monday night, but I know there's an Effects concert coming up in Chicago, which I didn't even know he was touring until I just found out about it recently. So that's gonna be my next goal, is to check that one out. But yeah, I'll keep an ear out for his new song as well. Let's see. All right, fancy time. Gotta wet the palate. Make sure I can read all this. You guys get to see how bad my schooling is when I'm having trouble pronouncing these made up words. Some of them are made up. Some of them I just suck at reading. All right. Where'd my cola go? We're going to get to the Dreams of Atlas, and then we're going to get to the gates themselves, and I'm going to go over the gates, and then depending on the time frame, I'll continue tonight. Got a little sidebar with flat Earth, the Nazis, stuff like that, but it was a good conversation, so definitely worth it. Maybe I'll have to touch on those again sometime soon. Ahem. Getting the mindset to think about all these beings that I don't know anything about. The other cool thing we can also look into on this map is what happened with the United States. That's what I started on when I first opened up the page that me and Emily were looking at when we were talking before I started. And it was basically a zoom in. And if you look at the beginning of this stream, Miami is in Illinois. And that was like my opening statement. I was like, what map am I looking at? This is supposed to be the Americas, but Miami is in Illinois. All right. One more drink, one more smoke. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in so far. Let me know if you guys want me to make the screen bigger. I can always do that. I'm going to probably make it bigger while I'm reading. Just in between reading, I'm going to probably have my face on for a minute. It's probably the worst thing to look at over the map. The weather's starting to ramp up. But yeah, here we go. We'll make it bigger too. And I got it on full screen now. I just found a new way to adjust it. So it'll be a lot bigger and a lot clearer. And then if you guys have to, you can always do full screen on your end with a pop-out chat. All right. Let's go into the Dreams of Atlas. For decades, the moon remained an empty black void. So we were talking about the black moon before. This is a continuation to let you know that it stayed like that for a long period of time. The long dark nights passed around the known world with millions of restless minds consumed by speculations and desire for answers. In every society, scholars, philosophers, and holy men would struggle to interpret this sign from the heavens and ease the worries of the masses. In Punjab, the followers of Guru Nakadev were partially emboldened by the cosmic spectacle, whether it be a sign of chance or a sign of doom. It was the duty of the skis to spread the truth of their faith to the confused and divided people of their lands, and together proceed on a new spiritual path in peace and unity with local Sunni and Hindu authorities struggling to reach a consensus in regards to the Black Moon event. Many of their followers turned to the Guru for answers, and the Sikh faith blossomed all across the Indus Basin. Following the initial confusion regarding the Black Moon, the story of Magellan's fateful expedition creeped its way across the old world. Some told the stories of a group of intrepid explorers called into action by a mighty emperor who, for the first time, rounded the entire world, a great feat of navigation that would be rewarded with the promise of endless new discoveries and riches to be found beyond the great barriers to the south. Some told the story of brutish sailors from the godless kingdom who searched the world over for unknown lands and people to conquer, plunder, and spread their heathen faith. Their hubris carrying them to the furthest reaches of the world, where they met God's wrath and caused divine punishment to rain down over all mankind. So some people think of it as, a divine exploration, and other people think of it as, now we have this black moon, this is all your fault, the gods are smiting us. Smite me, almighty smiter. Some told stories of an adventurer who embarked on an epic quest to see all the world's wonders, and upon reaching the end of the realm of man, opened the door to an entirely new domain from which all sorts of powerful spirits and dangerous beasts were sure to emerge. Some told the story of a petty king in the backwaters of what was once Rome, who wasted his meager wealth on a pointless expedition across all manners of obscure, uncivilized lands, collecting no goods, treasures, or profits of any kind, leading their kingdom to fall into poverty and disarray. Excuse me. And as a final bit of poetic justice from the heavens, all of the lands they discovered were washed away in a great tsunami. The weight of Magellan's discovery, first and foremost across the nations of Europe, the aspirations that were first realized by the kings of Spain and Portugal to explore the world's civilizations, oh, to explore the world's, cultivate its lands, enrich themselves with foreign wealth, and spread the glory of Christian civilization, went from the odd curiosity of Iberian kings to divine ordained missions. Exploration and expansion became the obvious end goal for all powerful nations, and the age of exploration, which had only just begun, rapidly matured as a whole of Christendom. I'm assuming that's like a kingdom of Christ, launched as a grand competition to make their claims on the new world of the Americas, and from there conquered the world beyond the ice wall. And so that's where we're going to get into what was beyond the ice wall and how they eventually um, came to the land outside of the ice wall. And I'm going to read this last one, and then we're going to dive into the map a little bit. This is going to be the last lore I jump into before we look into the map. But I'm going to catch up the chat again real quick. Let's see. Seek, is that how it's pronounced? Okay, I was wondering, is that a real term, or is that one that he? Because a lot of the terms that this the person that composed this, he created some of these terms, so I wasn't sure if I was getting it right or if it was a common term or how that worked. Excuse me. Okay, it's a sect. Nikki Haley is a Sikh. All right. I got you. I'm paying attention now. All right, let's see. Beyond the gates. As a native civilization of the Americas, were being crushed under the relentless pressure of colonial invasion. The lands available for conquest and exploration in the New World were quickly diminishing, and thus several powers of the Western world would shift their focus to gain head start in expanding their domains through pioneering exploration of the vast and mysterious lands that lay on the other side of the ice wall gates. These four pioneer empires would establish the first colonial presence in the second ring, and along the way make discoveries just as monumental as what Magellan stumbled upon over a century prior. So they're talking about this second gate. Let me show you what I think they mean by the second gate. So I don't know if you can see. There's a red line that falls upon it's right after what we would consider the ice wall. This red line is what I would consider the second gate that they're talking about, and this is apparently the first area that people fled for. And if you actually go around this map, you'll see that these are the places that are actually very similar to uh, Earth-based places that we think of today and continents that we think of today, but they all fall on this second circle. So I believe that's what they're talking about, is this red line. And yeah, we'll get into Xeonesia at some point. But yeah, it's all this, and it circumferences, like a ring. It circumferences the inner ring as well. So before we get to the rest of the gates, oops, a little zoomed out too far. With their already massive territories in the New World firmly secured. So when they're thinking of the Old World, they're referring to the stuff inside of the ice wall, which is the world that we know of, that exists around us. And then the New World would be the things outside of the ice wall that they're trying to claim. Um, so, with their already massive territories in the New World firmly secured, granting them incomparable wealth and manpower to draw upon, Spain was more prepared than any other nation to lead the change and exploration of the second ring. Dozens of aspiring conquistadors would set out to put their names in the history books. The Union of Brandenburg and Prussia would follow in the crusade. The spirit of their Teutonic forebears, and launch a series of expeditions to the outer world. Unlike their dogmatic ancestors, however, the Persians would establish their presence in the second circle with a sense of secular curiosity, seeking to empower themselves with knowledge gained from the many discoveries waiting for them beyond the gates. This would pay off in spades, allowing them to cast off the shackles of their Polish Leviathan overlords and enter the ranks of the great powers by the end of the 17th century, despite already having their hands full in managing a vast realm linking three continents. Ottoman Turks would not sit idly by and allow the domain of the European Christendom to eclipse Dar al-Islam. Their immense and diverse population would prove an invaluable asset in settling outer world's territories, with the Turks seeking unoccupied land outside of their cramped local region to spread their culture and bloodlines, and their non-Islamic subjects seeking greater autonomy in far off and isolated lands. The least likely members of the pioneer empire was undoubtedly the comprehensively tiny mercantile Republic of Venice, sensing their diminishing significance as tendrils of Europe. Trade expanded across the known world and beyond. The Venetians began founding ports far and wide, focusing less on settling large territories and more on expanding their trade networks through linking the desperate lands and people of the outer world. So they were just trying to establish trade routes that way they could stay connected with everybody because they already realized they were so far behind. As the age of exploration continued, the four gates of the ice wall were discovered, beyond which lay an immense and bizarre realm that dwarfed all of the known world and made the discoveries of the Americas seem trivial in comparison. The gates themselves possessed anomalous riches which seemed to beckon the nations of the earth to settle them and explore further. Before long, the pioneers would discover an array of isolated societies with mysterious origins. That shock of finding humans already living in the new world was nothing compared to the bewilderment of the explorers and the rest of mankind faced when encountering non-human intelligent races, the Pesidu avians, the Volivok, with a complex society hidden deep within an impenetrable mountain range, the Blemi, with their monstrous appearance but peaceful demeanor, the primitive and diminutive Duents of Aten, um, and the truly alien Zuhaldu, which all challenge the faiths, sciences, and philosophies of the old world, pre existing nations of what is meant to be human, the nature of the soul, and the hierarchy of the animal kingdom, which humanity had always believed they stood atop. Alone and unchallenged, clashed with these discoveries. Some cultures came to see the new races as equals to mankind, or at least analogs, while others saw them as no better than livestock. At worst, the devil's cheap mockery of God's greatest creation, Homo sapiens. Oops, tried to slide down. Sorry about that. Meanwhile, in the known world, as imperial uh, fervor took hold among the nations of Europe, their rapid expansion laid the foundation of the modern era, along with the territories of the first colonial empires. Direct lines of communication, diplomacy, and trades were established on a global scale as politics became less localized. Each of the historically distinct societies of the old world would come to find themselves wrapped up in the first true world order, forcing them to expand the scope of their purview and adapt to the historical paradigm shift. Their responses to the challenge possessed by this new era would decide their fates as the scramble for the second globe went into full swing. Okay, so I'm gonna go in the order of these gates. Let's go northeast, southwest. How about that? We'll start with the north gate, and I'm gonna catch up with the chat before we go into the serpent's gate. And then we'll decide where we go from there. Catch up the chat a little bit, see if anybody made fun of my atrocious pronunciation. They came from India and Pakistan. Curious. This follows the description of Atlas or Atlantis, rings within rings of land. Yeah, which this is kind of what I was talking to Woody about. Is I wonder if that's just our interpretation. Like when we were talking about an icy land that had a lush environment inside of it, it makes me wonder if that was just our interpretation of it, or they actually passed an ice wall. If they actually passed an ice wall, you would still think it was the same land. You wouldn't know that you had walked into a completely different land, I guess. And I wonder if it just comes down to interpretation when it comes to the rings. They just yeah, because I don't understand why the islands fall on that ring pattern. Like, yeah, there's other forms in there, but the mass of the island themselves would fall on that ring. But yeah, interesting. Let's see. The Serpent's Gate. We'll start on the text itself. Oops. Well, it won't let me go any farther. Gotcha. All right. All right. Sorry, Mr. Map. Got a full zoom on it. Yeah, let me have a cigarette real quick, and then we'll get back to the Serpent's Gate. And then I want to go to, we're going to go clockwise and check out the 4 gates. Northeast, well, the southwest gate is the one that I find the most intriguing on this map, because I think that's the one that people reference the most when they're talking about an ice wall. I don't know that there's 4 gates that people speculate about. I've heard of like gates that open up, and like I said, this is this artist's rendering of what he thinks they are, and a lot of the lore is his own compilation. So take it with a grain of salt. Regardless, it's an interesting story. I hope everybody doesn't hate this new thing I'm trying, because I don't usually do videos like this, so I hope it's okay. I hope the people that do find this interesting will stumble upon it, even if they just use my video to find the source of where this map is and look at it themselves. Oh, I'm glad you like it, Mud Rabbit. And I hope I'm not butchering the writing too much. There are typos in it, but some of them I'm just pronouncing wrong. All right, the Serpent's Gate. This region has a unique terrain covered in odd stalagmites like mounds of rock and dirt. The eponymous serpents are a species of large aquatic reptiles, usually not much wider than a man in girth, but tens of meters in length. Through the individuals, though some individuals are significantly larger, these serpents swim with their bodies in a bizarre contortion, consistently twisting and turning, wrapping around and through schools of fish, which they feed off of. Surprisingly, the fish themselves seem to prefer to swim with the serpent, sticking close by even when the serpent is killed or injured. As a result, the fishing industry revolves around simply killing the serpent and using the bodies to lead around schools of fish. Interesting. It's an interesting concept that they use that now. So let's take a look at some of the lands around Serpent's Gate. We'll start with New Poland, because they reference where all of these places were created from. Like there's one from Korea, there's one from Russia. I assume Poland, New Poland was also established by Poland. All right. Once a Persian penal colony where troublesome Poles wouldn't assimilate were deported. This independent state has turned the tables on their former overlords, assimilating the Persian minority and establishing itself as a haven for Polish refugees seeking to escape French dominated Europe in the lands which in the lands with much harsher winters. The drowning of Marzana has become the favorite holiday of the locals, with extravagant celebrations where giant effigies of the winter goddess are burnt and tossed into the sea or tossed into the ocean to commemorate the arrival of spring. And then there's the Yi colony, which was created by Korea, home of many Koreans who once lived in what is now the Russian Far East, known for their variety of unique alcoholic beverages, their liberal consumption of them, as well as their hospitality, making them popular amongst their neighbors. The language of drink is just as valuable here as any spoken one. Interesting. It looks like they definitely stuck with the Russian lineage there in Korea. And the Minamiguchi, Minamaguchi, and this is from Japan, outside of the few Yamato domained port cities, the Innu people hailing from northern Japan make up the majority of the population. Initially deported here against their will, the Innu people would come to appreciate the freedom to continue their traditions, ways of life in isolation, leading all but the most stubborn tribes to relocate to this new frontier with a healthy supply of gray bears introduced from Thule. They have learned to tame the beasts more effectively than they ever did in their homeland, training them to be hunting partners and beasts of burden. Okay, so they like worked with them like dogs, I guess. And then we have Nobyakatio or Nobyakati. It's a Russian one. Seeking to thoroughly populate its first large overseas colony, the Russians sent their Yukontian minority to settle the interior, who found themselves at the home on the island's vast flat tundras, where they managed massive herds of reindeer, producing plentiful bounds of meat and leather that bolstered the local economy. Let's see what other establishments do they have over here. The UK has an establishment over here. Superenstrilia, governed as part of Australia and settled originally by especially bad criminals, actual mass murderers in the sort, and then less horrible ones when Australia began using it as the Brits originally used Australia. This territory matched the Yi colony in terms of alcohol consumption. So the criminals were the hardened criminals were drinking just as much alcohol as their the Yi counterparts across the way of the Serpent's Gate. But those were the nice guys over there, and these were just the hardened criminals that drank just as much alcohol. Gaiko, in terms of gambling, and outpaced all of their neighbors when it comes to shady dealings performed out in the wilderness. And then we have post-Venetian. These surprisingly wealthy nations serve as preferred ports for all ships passing through the Serpent's Gate. The beauty of its capital is renowned worldwide, with immaculate towers of ice carved with coastal glaciers housing great casinos and market full of luxurious goods from around the gate and exotic lands that lie beyond. And then what is this? Batavia Port, a highly diverse mix of Dutch, Brits, Chinese, Havians, Powans, and Mori, manning the frosty ports so that the addicts can make its venture beyond Antarctica, known for passing the time with varieties of sports played in fields of rocky mound padded with snow. Okay, let's check out this serpent man. A serpent man wearing the skins of local sea serpents, which on top of poses brilliant colors and being highly durable, are also excellent for insulating against the harsh Antarctic cold. Inspired by the fashions of natives, serpent skins, boots, vests, and are common sight around the Serpent Gate colonies, and are also becoming popular amongst the wealthier residents of the Leviathan and Sentinel gates. So the other gates are wearing the serpent leather, I guess. Puerto Rico has started one as well. The Republic of Soledad, while Soledadians resent the Spanish crown for their abandonment, and the Lejanos desperately seek to reunify with their motherland. Both nations have ended up as economic vessels of the nearby Venetians who trade and investments. What investments is the only thing keeping the two poor nations from total collapse. And then New Portsmouth. I think I've heard of this one before. New Portsmouth is a name that I've heard before. A private colony established by the New England whalers in the 1700s, which was never officially part of the British Crown nor of the 13 colonies. It eventually became the personal fief of an eccentric Bostonian aristocrat with fascination for forgotten civilizations and the occult. The region also hosts the last remains of the indigenous Serpenti people. The Serpenti are a dark, secretive bunch descended from stranded Tasmanians, Aboriginals, with a reputation for practicing strange rituals and worshiping twisted gods, as well as for farming tubers that make for hearty and delicious soup. Interesting. Okay, so that's the Serpent Gate and its surroundings, the areas that are owned around it or claimed around it by this author. Let's see, back up a little bit, and then I'll catch up the chat before I jump into the next gate, because there's plenty of stuff we can cover on this. I don't even think I'm gonna get to all of it tonight. I'll get through all the gates tonight, but it might be the extent of it. Mm-hmm. All right. Oops. Stop that. Oh, come on. Stop playing games with me. All right. Next, we're going to do the Leviathan Gate, or the East Gate, according to this map. All right. No updates in the chat. If anybody has any questions about anything that they've seen on the map, or you want me to make it bigger, just let me know. Did I have it on the screen the whole time? Did I make it the bigger screen or no? Let me know if I didn't make the bigger screen, and I'll pull it up again, because I want to make sure you guys are getting to see what I'm seeing really well. Let's see. But let me see here. I'm gonna pull out for a second, and then I'll do another zoom in just in case I didn't get this this area on large screen. This is the Serpent's Gate, and these are the colonies that I was just reading about. So I'll leave those up for a second, and then we'll go to the Leviathan Gate next. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, this will show. And I read them from left to right. So if anybody was wondering which ones I was talking about, first I read the gate itself, and then I read from left to right with the colonies and explaining which one was established by who. So, and then we'll do the same thing for the next ones. I didn't realize I had the small screen. Yell at me next time. Oh, I apologize. I was looking at a different screen. But yeah, and up here to the top right on your picture, that is one of the serpent. What did they call them? Hold on, let me get the right term. A serpentine man, and he's the one wearing the skins of the serpents that they were talking about. But yeah, and it sounds like, according to that text, it sounds like we're going to see more about that leather that they were using. Like I said, next we're going to the Leviathan Gate, and we'll go from there. Go down to the gate, and then I'll make it bigger. What is this? This shadowy figure just on here. Is that in a different language too? I guess it almost looks Chinese or Asian. The writing, because that almost looks like a fan in that, like, falling writing like that. I wonder what that was, or what it's interpreted as. Interesting. All right. Still finding new things in here. This is going to take me a week to go over all of this. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this in parts for sure. So this would be what? Off the coast of like India, the Leviathan Gate? Or south of Japan, where it falls. And we'll read the excerpt about the Leviathan Gate first, what it says. And then we'll start from top to bottom and go through the regions as well. Looks like France has got a place out here. The Dutch have a place out here. Scandinavia's got a few places out here. Hello, Emily. How are ya? Yeah, we're still going on about maps. Like I said, they're different maps. They're not your regular maps. You're not going to see these maps anywhere else, I promise. Yeah, I was just pulling it up, and then I was going to make it big. So hopefully it's coming in good now. But give me 1 minute. I gotta go check something real quick. And then we'll go into the Leviathan Gate. All right, sorry about that. All right. So, the Leviathan's Gate. This region has especially deep waters that are subject to sudden shifts in temperature, known for the Leviathan, a sea creature so massive that until recent history it has been thought there could only be one of them. In fact, there is a thriving population of these mighty, armored, oddly shaped whales that slowly drift around the region, supporting miniature ecosystems in and around their own bodies. With their great strength and body heat, they can crash their way through the frozen ocean during the winter. The leviathans are known to spend extended periods of time in the darkest depths of the sea. The purpose of this is unknown, but it's thought to have something to do with their jewel, an anomalous glowing organ located deep within their flesh that explodes after they die with enough force to tear apart their massive bodies. When obtained intact, the Leviathan's jewel is highly valued. It's a highly valued commodity. Oh, interesting. I always thought the Leviathan was just a just a myth, I guess. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not a myth. Um, I just didn't know they had a full description of the Leviathan. And if you see on here, they have a whale just to give you kind of a size depiction of how big the Leviathan's supposed to be. Um, let's start with Friesland, um, from Scandinavia, originally a Dutch colony, but the French essentially decreed that it belongs to the Scandinavians, and so the competition began to outsettle the Dutch and Frisians. I can't really read it from here. Frisians, um, already living there with Scandinavians and Froens. I can't really read it. It won't zoom in any farther. You'd think they'd be inbred enough as it was, but the four-way ethnic rivalries add to that issue as each group refused to intermingle with their neighbors. Oh gosh, that sounds very medieval. Yeah. So, gonna have some deformed humans over there in no time. Um, Bais de la Bestule, it's from France, attempting to monopolize trade of the Leviathan based products by chasing the beast into the bay and using the large fleet to prevent them from leaving. Okay, so they're established. I don't know. This is this is New Friesland. This is this area right here in this Base de la Bristol is this. So they try to, cart the Leviathans in here and trap them. The Iholsgo, Iholsgo. It's the Gulak and Burma. Uh, the mostly Tibetan inhabitants switch alarming fast between harmless Buddhist monks and blood crazed manics known for settling disputes with knife duels on thin, free floating sheets of ice. The goal being to slay the opponent before falling into the frigid water. Gosh, so rough people we got here. Ursh Alash, the Omen. They're quite fond of the local Leviathans, and marketing their plates, naming them and marketing their plates with carved symbols and art. When one of their favorite appears, townsfolk will send a ship full of offerings to the beast for good luck. Okay, so they at least feed them and give them stuff. They pray to them like gods. It sounds like, and give them goods and whatnot. The Ziraza Cottleus. The Ziraza most vital link to trade uh, with the known world. They use cannonballs filled with hallucinogenic fungi to terrorize French ships and subdue Leviathans by sending them into a trance. They, they shoot cannonballs of mushrooms at the French and at the Leviathans. Oh gosh, that's some good people right there. That's interesting. All right, the the Sindendine, Scandinavia. This place was settled by the Netherlands and later Scandinavians, mostly using cheap foreign labor rather than loyal citizens. The Dutch and Nordic minorities are joined by Indonesians, Indians, Algerians, and surprisingly Romani, who make up the largest portion. Happy to be around people who don't hold a deep-seated animosity towards them. Okay. Let's see. This is a little expert excerpt about the Leviathan breeding grounds. Despite the great abundance, Leviathan fish and other marine comedies, it is unclaimed and rarely trespassed by explorers due to its jagged, rocky terrain and turbulent waters, constantly frothing with subaquatic volcanism. So they constantly got freezing and boiling water. Being the only of four gates without a native population, the people of Ursh Alwash were the first humans to permanently settle for this region. And this is apparently what they look like. Let's check the rest of these areas. So this is the breeding grounds is over here on the other side of the ice wall where the Leviathans apparently breed. Post Dutch, the Tweedwereldoer. Post Dutch, some abandoned colonies in contested territories survive by playing imperial powers against each other through balanced diplomacy. Gosh, in Twelder Wilder. That is so Dutch. They've decided to hate the British and French equally and survive on Middle Eastern trade. Many shahs and sultans vacation here to embark on rarely successful Leviathan hunts. So apparently not that good at it. I already checked the guys that are shooting the fungus grenades at people. Former Persian colony under Koyuragan control, who keep the population from fleeing by not allowing them to build large ships. Also, a few incidents involving hallucinogenic cannonballs tainting their fish supply has made them skeptical about reuniting with their Zahran brethren. So yeah, they're not messing with the guys across the way because they can't even eat the fish in their water because it makes them hallucinate. A post Ottoman nation that has earned their ire of the Zizerans, who periodically send warships to harass their coastline. They survive by being very friendly to the French, who provide supplies but not much naval support, as their sailors grew incredibly weary of being driven to madness by the sinister weapons of the Zirhan ships. So they were also scared of the what's it called? The hallucinogenic cannonballs. Oh, that's in the outer ring. We won't go that far yet. The Indy della Bellisti, a post-Venetian colony, attempts to survive as an apolitical mercantile state, but France ambitions of dominating the gate mean they are restricted to Middle Eastern trade. It doesn't help that they're constantly harassed by the Thracians. And then these are the Thracians, a former Venetian territory whose Greek majority rebelled from their own nationalistic state with French support, has aspirations of spreading Greek culture throughout the New World. Okay, and that would be the Leviathan gate. Now we get to my favorite gate. I'm gonna check the chat again, of course. But my favorite gate is the Sentinel gate, and that's where we are going next. Touched on this a little bit earlier because I think this is the gate that's talked about more than any other gate. I'm not going to cover too far out of this spectrum right here. This is what we're going to go over because I probably even shouldn't even go over this. And these people are from these lands farther in. I'm more worried about these gate lands, and that's what I'm trying to go over, and then the people from these areas. You should see Mud Fossil University. He's got something that looks like a Leviathan. What's Mud Fossil University? Never heard of it. Make it a mess. Oof. Sorry, I just knocked something over. Wanted to dry it up. But yeah, no, I've never heard of Mud Fossil University. It's a new one for me. Roger, he's got a YouTube channel. I've watched him for years. He finds mud fossils very interesting. Also finds them on massive scales. He found a Leviathan and a dragon. What? I've often wondered if there was ever a species of a reptilian or something similar on this planet that resembled what we call dragons. Maybe not even fire breathing, maybe not even flying, but I think it's very possible we had large serpents. Maybe even if there were dinosaurs that we misinterpreted for dragons, I think it's possible. I need to grab one thing. Then we're back to it. All right. Stay thirsty, my friends. I mean, there are some interesting old fossils that I've seen that would resemble what they just called the Leviathan, but I don't know if it's necessarily a Leviathan. I I mean, because I thought they were depicted different ways. I didn't think there was a set way they looked, just large. I thought that was the only consistency of a Leviathan was the size. It's the size of the Sahara Desert. You're fucking with me now. That's insane. I like how they have the emperor. Are those emperor penguins that are down there in the Sentinel gate? Seems like it. Yes, we're gonna be next. This will be the next gate we cover. We got one more gate to cover after this, and then I'll probably wrap it up with the gates, and then we'll start exploring the outer lands of this map on a later video. Because I don't. The one person I saw try to cover this, he covered it in an hour. I'm like, how? You can't even scratch the surface of this stuff on an hour. I've been reading this stuff all day. I've already read half of the stuff on this. I haven't even read it all yet, but very intriguing to me. Yeah, I thought they were emperor penguins. Here it is, 4 years ago. And so, is he an explorer, like an archaeologist? What would you call him? This gentleman. Retired archaeologist. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Can't pull it up right here, but I will soon. I don't ever see big fossils besides like what unless it's the one that you're talking about that I did hear recently about one that they found in ice in a cave, but when it comes to a dragon, but not a leviathan. I did see that on YouTube about a dragon being found in a cave. I don't know how accurate it was, but Stellium 7 is the other one. Yeah, I'll have to look into those. But I have seen a few like interesting discoveries when it comes to creatures. Like I was having a talk with somebody about the Montauk creature. No, the dragon is bigger than the Leviathan. Yeah, no, I think we're thinking about different things. That's almost like the biblical account of the serpent that somebody fought. They cover entire continents. It's almost unfathomable. And how do they know that's the structure itself, or are they just did they prove it was fossilized bone or anything, or what have they figured out about it? Yeah, St. George slayed the serpent. And it's also in the story of like Anunnaki and stuff like that as well, that there was a battle of a serpent that was slayed. Yeah, that's what was it? It's Kublai Khan. Anything that's got Khan in it, or uh, Cole. Um, I was doing some research about how most religion is just modern day serpent worship, because of the terminology. Like when you're talking about the Vatican, like the Vatican, it means like home or house of the serpent, and Kublai Khan being the serpent god from one, was it the Mayans that had the serpent. Like, there's so many religions that depict the serpent, and Khan is supposed to mean serpent. And it's weird that the snake is considered the con artist in, like, the snake in the grass, the con artist of religion. And then it's also noted as being the key word in the word con, meaning uh, serpent. It's a really weird one. Yeah. Same with symbolism too. I mean, the cross, a crosshair, like all of that stuff has been just regenerated for so long that it gets redefined over time. Like a swastika. Like if you were to see a swastika on an old uh, temple in India, you wouldn't understand why it was there. You'd be so confused. I need a dab, and then I'm gonna read about the Sentinel Gate. We studied that in our group back in the 90s. Yeah. I always thought that stuff was interesting. Language is very interesting, and how people use it to fit their narrative. The redefining of words always amazes me. That's why I always wonder if the Christian depiction of um, God good, serpent bad, um, if it wasn't just a battle we witnessed or a conflict that we witnessed. All right, go big screen. All right. The territory here is largely flat with thousands of small ponds connected by a network of shallow underground waterways, maintained by burrowing aquatic arthropods. It is known for its eerie 2.5-meter tall penguins who spend most of their time standing motionless along the shorelines, regularly spaced from each other and staring out into the distance. All of their movements seem to be careful and coordinated, and they will lethally attack those who attempt to disrupt them. Gosh, they're like the Queen's guards. Natives have developed a tradition of mimicking the sentinels with costumes and ritualistic performance. All right, let's see. We'll start with let's go with these tribes right here. So I think this is a picture of the lands with the ponds and having uh, streams and stuff underneath, I'm assuming. Tribes are ruled by a singular Ohawhewhe, usually a shaman who can communicate with higher powers due to the harsh environments of the gates and the paradoxically plentiful fish population. Most coastal tribes are settled with chiefs laying claim to the waters around the village. Taboos: I will wear your skin. How the fuck do you wear short sleeves when it's this cold? Red fruit and white flowers are associated with death and disease and poison, As such, gifting one is considered a death threat. This belief was passed on to the Bay Noongur of the continent of Thoth. Marriage with people from other races is strictly forbidden. Through men can take foreign concubines. Women who marry foreigners are shunned and might become targets of honor killings. Damn, they're intense. The thoughts are very, very intense, and they are just on the other side of the wall. I was just backing out a little bit so you could see the Thoth nomad continent, and that was one of the first established. So you're talking about people coming from Egypt, or prior to what we think of as Egypt, and establishing um, colonies on the second ring, because that should be right on the second ring. Let's see. Rites of new religions include human sacrifice of either willing tributes or prisoners of war, enduring the Antarctic wilderness completely nude, or ritual cannibalism. Wow, that's a lot. Those are some tough things to go through to live in the area. Argentina established Marambio, Marambio, while a budding power in small and colonial capacity, the Argentinians couldn't sit closet to Antarctica right next to a gate and do nothing, with dastardly British pirates stalking nearby seas, tainting the waters with their putrid tea, with jealous glares aimed at the prized Malvians. In partnership with the previous Australian landowners, they have spread this stretch of land and its people from Anglo-Saxon devastation. People from Anglo-Saxon devastation. It's not devastation. Devastation, because there's an A in it. All right, and now let's see. I'm not going to talk about any of the Thothian species right now because I assume they're native of Thoth. New Schwabland, the young nation that now dominates the gate of the Sentinels, started out as a diverse array of colonies, many settled by the Spanish, who later sold off much of the territory to the Austrian nobilities in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars. The various divided territories were flooded with waves of German refugees who organized and united the colonies to become independent nation, with neutral feelings towards all but the French, commonly referred to by travelers as the gatekeepers. The New Schwablands have used their position as the center of commerce to enrich themselves and become the most developed and influential nation across all four gates. Wow. So they're big. The crown colony of Antipoda, established by Britain, becoming increasingly hard to maintain thanks to the New Schwablands seeking to absorb this territory and the Argentinians. So they're right on the tip, right outside of New Schwabland, seeking to avoid breathing the same air as the Brits at all costs. The empire has worked to counteract separatist sentiments among the German population by making the territory a basin for native displaced by the expansion of the New Schwablands. This has proven effective, but more unrest has emerged as communities settler communities are increasingly unsettled by Senti rituals and witchcraft. Missionaries sent to convert the Sentis are rarely successful. Many reporting visions of fabled ice woman haunting their dreams. So they keep referring to that same ice woman that was originally referred to in the new moon. This ice woman that keeps drawing people closer. That was depicted by this artist that stands atop the ice wall, drawing people in. Interesting. It's uh, it's the second time they've referred to her, so I wonder what her importance is. I also wonder who this gentleman is supposed to be in the sense of the story. Maybe I haven't figured it out yet. Well, okay, so all right, let's take this into account. He's wearing a purple robe. Um, New Schwabland is on the map in purple, and it's supposed to be the most dominant um, land among all four gates. So maybe he's one of the kings of New Schwabland, or one of the rulers. It's very possible. All right, let's go to our last gate. Take one more break and go to our last gate. I'm just gonna have a little cigarette. I'm not gonna go anywhere or anything. This gate looks wild. I don't think I've looked at this one at all. The Tiger's Gate. Or Tigress. Yeah, Tiger's Gate. Okay. This is going to be all Siberian. I have a dictionary that almost 100 years ago, you'd be surprised how many words have been augmented and have many just aren't in there anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's how you spell devastation. I don't know why I thought there was an I in there. Gosh, you got me. Oh, I need correction every once in a while. Keep me grounded. But yes, next we're going to go into the Tiger's Gate. And then maybe that's what we'll call part two. We'll call it the, I don't know, we'll call it the secondary ring or something. Part two, the secondary ring. But I'll cover this one and we'll probably wrap up tonight. Actually, let me zoom out on the map. I want to see if there's anything else that I definitely want to cover on this first half. Oh, there was a creature sitting in the water that I wanted to look at. It's right by this gate, so it works out. Hold on. Hold on. A Rapa Nui, Nuana, attack dolphin. Bigger, smarter, and more sadistic than any natural variety. Basically, take every bad thing you've ever heard about dolphins and crank it up to 11. All right. I don't fuck with that dolphin. Is there anything else outside of here that I wanted to check out? Floating around in our area. What is this? Oh no, that's nothing. Pretty sure we covered all of the old world for the most part. I mean, we didn't go into great detail. If we really wanted to get deep, we could. Where is it? Let me pull it up. We could go like this, and I could teach you guys about the Americas as depicted in this story. The Americas are very interesting, and you're talking like every aspect of the Americas they cover. Let's see if I can. I want to do this close up on the United States again, or what we refer to as the United States while I'm taking this break, and before I cover the last gate. So, okay, sorry. Miami is in Indiana. The Iron Confederacy, the Creese, the Nez, Piros, the Shoshones, the Navajos, the Apaches, the Comanches, the Cherokee. These just seem like tribes. It's not so bad. That makes a little more sense to me. I didn't know there was a Miami tribe though in Indiana. Still got me confused about that. What link did I find this map at? This map is part of the one from that artist. But like I said, you have to go to that artist's rendering on that Deviants page. And I can give you the artist's name again. The artist's name is I'll write it in the chat. Ohawhewhe. Then you just search his work on there, and you'll see the collection. He's got a huge collection of this stuff. He or she, I don't know. And yeah, you can definitely dig into it a little bit more. Like I can't. I'm so surprised at how complex the story is itself, because it's a really deep story. To come up with all that by yourself without, with, and he announced it before he did it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna drop this this ice wall story in about a month. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up." And I've been following his stuff now, so I was like, "Oh, okay, gotta figure this out." And you have to make an account on Deviant in order to download the maps, but it's worth it. Download the maps, or you can once you make an account, they'll give you the easy scan thing that I'm using right now, and yeah, super easy. But I'm gonna go over as much of this map as I can before I stop doing videos about it. I might take a break in between and do other videos, but I'm gonna definitely do a part 2 on this and talk about the ring and the people and everything else. There's still more lore to cover. It's just such an in-depth map that he made. And if you look at some of his other artwork, go into his featured section of his gallery, and you can see his one-on-one depictions of those races of beings and stuff that we were looking at, and he breaks them down even more. And you get like close-ups where you're not zooming. I am literally looking at one picture of the 87 things or something that he has in his archive. So he's got quite a collection. I think it's a him. I thought the name was funny. Ohawhewhe. What's Temu? Temu. I wish I could hand it to you. Be easier. Oh, nice. That's fun. Like Michael's on crack. But yeah, they go over all the stories that happen to each of the people in these lands. Um, where does it start? The Americas. The newly born country is currently preoccupied with expanding its western border and pays little mind to the world beyond the ice wall on a state level for that very reason, as skirmishes with the natives and British Canadians and the Mexicans keep the government interested firmly within Northern America, but on an individual level, the uttermost South brings great wonder and curiosity among the Americans. And even in 1830, many explorers of the Second Ring are intrepid Americans on the payroll of foreign nations or corporations who know maybe once America's borders are secure and the Wild West is settled, the stars and stripes will fly south of Antarctica too. Once again, the Americans are worried way too much about themselves, and they're not spreading anywhere. An even newer nation, the Mexico is still reeling from the Latin American wars of independence. A huge country, its quarrels with the natives, rebellion to its South American settlers encroaching on their underpopulated northern territories put the sights of the Mexican government's ambition completely apart from anything south of Antarctica. However, not all Mexicans are separated from the happenings beyond the ice wall. Before independence, many Spanish colonies south of South were settled by people from the viceroyalty of New Spain, making Nueidi a non a not uncommon second language. Nueidi. I'm gotta be pronouncing that wrong. Nah Nahuti, Nahutel, a not uncommon second language in most post-Spanish nations out south. Apart from that, a few intrepid Mexican sailors joined their Peruvian and Chilean counterparts in a daring journey to the Tiger's Gate, narrowly avoiding Easter Islander pirate fleets to trade with their estranged Tigrinio brothers in the edge of the world. Yeah, he's got such deep timelines on all of this stuff and stories to go with everything. More like diamonds. Nothing is like diamonds. That's down in Miami on Red Road. Oh, cat's freaking out. That's always good. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to like Ace. I got sidetracked with some of the lore about um, what happened in the Americas and what we consider the planet, or they consider the old world, which other stories depict it differently because I don't think they consider it the old world just because um, they say that what they're calling the old world in this story has restarted several times in other stories. So the biggest craft store on the planet. I've never even seen one. Must not be that big. Can't see it from here. It ain't Leviathan sized. That's for damn sure. All right, let's pull this out. We'll learn about Haiti, and we'll probably go into more lore in the beginning of the next one. But until then, we're going to go. These are the peoples. We read a little bit about the Dundans. I couldn't even pronounce them. The Dundies of Aten. And these are those like little people, basically. So you got orc brownies, leprechauns, goblins, gnomes, dwarves, and hobgoblins. Yeah, we can get into some of these lores next time. There's so much material here. The creatures outside of the ice wall. Man, there's so much more to cover. We're just doing the ice wall in the interior right now, and a little bit of the lore that led to the opening of the ice wall, so we could go to the exterior. So we are on the Tiger's Gate, which is interesting because that little bit I just read about Mexico. Apparently, this is the gate that they took. So let me zoom out again and see where it falls. So yeah, that makes sense. This is Mexico down here. So you would assume Americans or anybody would come off of this area to get to the Tigris. Californians could get over there. I don't know what people live in this land, but they got to worry about. Yeah, sorry about that. I tried to warn everybody before I started streaming. It might just be the weather. Um, let's see here. What did I miss? Goblins. I've seen goblins. Mm-hmm. We gotta get this thing big. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, we gotta get that cool tiger in the shot. Why isn't the tiger in the shot? Can't see him. Oh, there he is. All right. So yeah, that makes sense because the Mexican people, the ones that weren't worried about what's going on in the country, they said they used this this area. So they were coming off of like if I zoom out a little bit, I think it's California and stuff that are right here. And this is Mexico, or what we would consider Mexico. This is California. And this is a series of islands that's surrounded by these crazy dolphins, apparently. They just want to kill everybody. Okay, I'm wondering who this red. The Tigurian tribes are the biggest conquerors of this area. Oops. Let's back in. Go in a little deeper here. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. All right, I'm still pouring my drink, but then we'll get started. I just want to get it on full screen so everybody can see it again. You guys hear me okay? Sorry, like I said, the weather's a little goofy. If I get dropped off again, I'll probably wrap it up and continue wherever I stopped. But this is the last gate I'm going to do, so hopefully we should be able to make it through this. Hopefully we don't get a black moon or red moon and closes up the gate. All right. The Tigris Gate. Oops. The Tigris Gate. A hilly mountainous region with many hot springs and active volcanoes. The Tigris Gate is named for its dominant terrestrial predators, the Tigre del Glacier. These large cat-like Spracodons. So I'm assuming it's like an ancient or not ancient, but prehistoric large beast. It's similar to the picture probably sitting above it that we've probably archived in the past. Possess stealth, speed, and strength that makes them a dangerous predator for even modern humans. Among their formidable abilities is being able to fully bury themselves in ice in a matter of seconds, leap off of water with the momentum of skipping a stone. How fast would that be? How light on your feet do you have to be to run across something like skipping a stone? The only thing I can think of is those like hooded lizards. Blah, blah, blah. Can't talk. A strong resistance to firearms. The native people who inhabit this region are experts in physical combat and God damn it. Sorry. Instead of scrolling down, I keep zooming out. Fortification against their monstrous mammalian mortal enemies. I can't even say all that. Monstrous mammalian mortal enemies. All right. So there's some big ass cats out there that are like bulletproof and can run on water. Sounds like a horrible combination. Wait, a cat that can run on water and it's bulletproof and yeah, it sounds like a great place to live. I couldn't even imagine a 30-pound cat having those capabilities, but you're telling me this thing is huge with tusks and it can bury itself in the snow in seconds. So it's like a trapdoor spider that's bulletproof, that can skip across the water. And that seems a little extreme. That's gonna be hard to battle. All right, let's talk about what do we got here? The Rapa Nuian. Let's do the Rapa Nuians. Expeditionary bases. More so than its isolation. Furious fauna, tenacious natives, and pirate-infested waters. What really makes colonial powers wary of entering the Tiger's Gate is the presence of the mysterious Rapa Nuian Empire, whose cunning tactics and supernatural abilities and universal hostility makes much of the Western Pacific a nightmare to traverse. So it is here in the darkest shadows of the known world that the Rapa Nui have chosen to occupy in preparation their first foray beyond the Pacific to terrorize the seas beyond the ice wall. Wow, that sound like horrible, mean people. And I think, okay, so the Rapa Nuis also are on these islands because that's a Rapa Nuian attack dolphin. And these islands are pink like the lettering over here. So I'm assuming the Rapa Nuians are just out in the water, just being real mean to everybody. That's kind of fun too. God, they're these killer tigers. They got the Rapa Nui people that are magic, and these are just dark magic. The Tigerian tribes, which seem to take up most of the area. Centuries of persistence against a harsh climate, deadly predators, and Polynesian pirates have forged a people renowned for their toughness, resilience, and prowess. It would seem that fate has rewarded the Tigrians for their tenacity, with their homelands largely overlooked by colonial empires for the time being, giving them the opportunity to adjust to foreign plagues, learn the ways of modernized invaders, and prepare for any threats that loom on the horizon. Doesn't really tell much about them, though. All right. The Tigrino Republicatas. A sparse population of settlers from Spain's New World territories has given rise to a series of burgeoning nations emerging from the collapse of the Spanish Empire, with Liberia consumed by international conflict, and their counterparts in the New World busy adjusting to their recently gained independence. Their position on the least traveled and most remote of the four gates has left them mostly isolated for decades, with their only contact with the outside world coming in the form of murdering pirates, Rapa Nuian invaders, occasionally trade with Latin Americans. The Tigrinos could only rely on the native Tigrians for survival, resulting in an assortment of unique and thoroughly hybridized serial speaking cultures. I think this is a depiction of the people, I guess. Though normally republics, the Torino states are ruled by colonials, older bulls from wealthy families who had handpicked their successors in sham elections. I think these are the flags of their people: the Tula, the Tangria, the San Onofre. 53% Amarid, 13% Tigrid, or no, 53% Amarid, 40% Tigrin, and 13% Manchpif. In Eurasian Spanish, 40%, 47%. Ooh. I think these are the people of this area, I guess. Fishing and ranching are the most common activities in Tegrenol land, and both are largely controlled by colonials. As trade with the Latin Americans has increased over the years, merchants cliques began gaining wealth and influence, competing with each other and threatening the oligarchs' monopoly on power. Alcohol is one of the main imports into the Tegrino states. So it seems like two of the gates have a lot of violence and a lot of drinking. But it seems like the other one, this one just seems like the roughest one to come into. Like it seems like the hardest one to survive. As men spend a lot of time either at sea fishing, in fields, herding sheep, or fighting off pirate raids or native incursions, Terran women of all social classes hold high levels of influence in the Tegrino domestic and political sphere, usually taking part in trade, negotiations with foreigners, and, if needed, the defense of the settlement from invaders. Nice. They dis- detest pirates and will never give a safe haven to people they know to be pirates. They are variable hostile invariably hostile to the people from Vriedzen, Kuhl. Protestants, specifically Dutchmen, are seen with suspicion because of it. Did I miss anything else? A native Tigurian man. God, he's jacked. They all look like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Native Tigurian man brandished an obsidian blade and proudly displaying his many scars earned over the course of his hunts. It is a common custom for warriors to cut a mark into their skin to commemorate each successful kill, while scars gained in battle are tattooed with red or black ink. I don't think I talked about these people either. This derelict colony of the British Empire is essentially an independent entity serving as a base for the pirates and a hideout for runaway slaves and fugitives seeking to escape to somewhere remote and dangerous enough to discourage any pursuing authorities in lawless land governed only by the pirates' code. Those who make this their permanent residence provide food and housing to local pirate crews in exchange for protection. Okay, so the pirates can't even make it in here. The pirates are considered bad guys, and like you won't get any cops past this point, is what they're trying to say. Or like law, Johnny Law is not going past this point, but the pirates are too scared to go in all of this. They know better. All these people hate pirates, and they're hated by everybody else. The Tigrino Republicantas or whatever, they're they're like the lowest on the totem pole in this area, and they steady mess up the pirates, and so does everybody in all of these groups. It's funny. Wow, 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 wow. Let's see. Um, what's this? Before I wander away. Oh, they got names of seas too. Okay. Okay. I didn't know. Apesia, Thoth, Minenevs, the Avalons. Whoa. The Arthenori, Arthen, Arthornia, the Islands of the Blessed, Hybrid, Hybrimasog. I can't even pronounce these. It's going to get even better as this goes because I'm going to butcher the hell out of a lot of this. There's even lands on the outside of the second ring. What is this? There's a whole nother section. Oh, this is Shangri-La. Ooh. The Volvolk of Shangri-La. Ooh, provocative. Now we got somewhere to start next time. And they're all fighting over, yeah, pretty much. I wonder if this guy is writing a book. I don't know. I hope he does. I mean, he already has. He just has to find a way to turn it into a story. I mean, he's already got he's world building right now. And that's exactly what he did. So he could easily write a book or any story inside of his world, and it would probably work pretty well. It's very Lovecraftian, but it's like he's stealing off of ideas that are kind of in commonplace right now with flat Earth talk and inner Earth and stuff like that. So it's easy to kind of alter it and make it your own. And yeah, plus knowing how to draw and come up with everything else, I think he did a pretty good job. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up right here, and I will probably continue this another time. Not sure when, but we will cover it again. So I appreciate everybody that stopped in or anybody that checks this out later. Um, Give me comments on it. Tell me I need to read more and cover more because I think that's where I slacked a little bit today. But it's only because I threw an interview that was much needed in the middle of it because Woody stopped by and I wanted to talk to him. So I apologize for the break in it. But everybody have a good night and I will talk to everyone soon.